still matter. So stand up, lean in. You don't need a cape just to help someone win. Do something simple, do something true. Make a sandwich for a friend, hold the door for someone too. Facts still matter, it starts with you. Check on your neighbor, share what you can do. One small action turns into a wave. Do something today, be the change that you crave.
down 0.5 cent from yesterday. They were $4.14 a week ago, $3.67 a month ago, $3.18 a year ago. So it's up $1. And it's the diesel price that keeps going up. $5.65 for a gallon of diesel compared to $3.57 a year ago. But all that winning. And massive blowback to the president from his post yesterday, depicting himself as, well, what we thought was Jesus. The president apparently thinks that this is supposed to be him as a doctor. You know, I don't know. I mean, I've been in physicians' offices. We all have. I don't recall a doctor's hands ever glowing as they're administering medication, or just, you know, the power of light to heal. I've never seen that before. That maybe that's advanced science medical school. I don't know, but we'll talk about that because of all people. I mean, Riley Gaines, who is just an absolute sycophant, right? Who's just a horrible human being, has been one of the ones that's come out against him vociferously. All that to say that the MAGA world is crumbling. So I want to get into a story that kind of got underreported a little bit, and then I've got a few other things we want to get to today. So please consider tapping and sharing. Let's get the live out there, friends. And if you haven't joined our team, please do that. So the situation with, do you remember the birthday book? Right? Remember there was that famous picture that the president showed? I couldn't find. I have a picture of it somewhere, but I don't know where it is. But you recall, it's the curvaceous, or what should be the curvaceous outline of a woman's figure, and then there was a poem written and then signed by the president. And they've done everything possible, they being the administration, to try to deflect away from it. Right? So let me do two things first. I want to remind people this statement by Caroline Leavitt just about a week ago, when she said this from the dais in the press room.
A quick statistic here on energy that I found fascinating, and it's obviously true because I'm saying it up here. Red states with Republican
Okay, it's obviously true if she's saying it up there. Okay, that's really, really, really interesting because we have some sound from just a few days after that whole controversy came out. So when Caroline Leavitt says, what I'm saying up here is the truth, that's the first lie, but it gets worse because this was roughly 7 months ago. This was right after the birthday book was released by the Wall Street Journal, and we'll get into what happened. The judge basically said this is bullshit. They've done nothing wrong. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But this was Caroline attempting to defend her boss.
Would the White House support a professional handwriting expert review of the document released yesterday to prove that it's not the president's signature?
Sure, we would support that. And in fact, I have already seen many forensic analysts of signatures coming out. I believe it was the Daily Signal that published a piece with 3 separate signature analysts who said that this absolutely was not the president's authentic signature. And we have maintained that position all along. The president did not write this letter. He did not sign this letter. And that's why the president's external legal team is aggressively pursuing litigation against the Wall Street Journal, and they will continue to.
You said he didn't sign that check, that he didn't sign the birthday card that he allegedly signed. So what is the theory, since these documents came from the Epstein estate? Who is, I guess, in your view, faking these documents?
I did not say the documents are a hoax. I said the entire narrative surrounding Jeffrey Epstein right now that is absorbing many of the liberal cable channels on television is a hoax.
Oh, isn't that interesting to look back in time? Isn't it really, really interesting to have Caroline Leavitt's own words? Remember, Caroline is from New Hampshire. Enough said. If you know, you know. Isn't it just interesting to have that now when you listen to that clip? The entire thing's a hoax. Meanwhile, well, there you go. Thank you, Swishy Raiders. Good morning, guys. Hearts in the chat for Swishy Raiders, please, friends.
That is being perpetuated by opportunistic Democrats.
What exactly is the hoax? I'm just trying to understand what's fake. What's fake is not the documents.
The hoax is the Democrats pretending to care about victims of crime when they do not care about victims of crime, when they have done nothing to solve crimes, when they have done nothing to lock up child pedophiles and child rapists across the country, and when they are now using victims as political props to try and, again, smear the president of the United States and drag on this bad story about him. It is a distraction.
Oh.
The president did not write that letter.
Okay.
He did not sign those documents. He maintains that position.
Okay.
And that position will be argued in court by his lawyers. The president is very confident he's going to win this case.
Well, that's interesting. So we'll get to that in just a second. But this was the president talking about as well, additional reporting on this topic.
A birthday message, apparently from President Trump to Jeffrey Epstein in 2003, is part of a new document released by a House committee. It was found among Epstein's belongings in a so-called birthday book containing notes from his friends. As Scott McFarland reports, the president says it's a fake.
This was the 50th birthday message allegedly from President Trump to Jeffrey Epstein in 2003. Years before Epstein was convicted of soliciting prostitution from a minor, the Republican-led U.S. House Oversight Committee obtained the card and a series of other records under subpoena from the Epstein estate Monday. Democrats on the panel first released an image of it and noted the birthday message closes with a reference to a wonderful secret. Trump has repeatedly denied making the sketch or the card.
I don't even know what they're talking about. Now, somebody could have written a letter and used my name, but...
Yeah, somebody could have written a letter. Remember, this goes back, what, 25 years? Don't forget, there was accusations that it was the Biden administration. So did Joe Biden learn from their new FEMA administrator about teleporting? Did he go back in time 25 years and then forge Trump's signature, knowing that it would be uncovered during the investigation into criminality and crimes against children? That is that's some wild shit right there.
That's happened a lot.
I'm not a drawing person. I don't do drawings of women, that I can tell you.
And he filed a $10 billion.
His name is Donald. He likes to do drawings.
Defamation lawsuit against the Wall Street Journal and its owner for reporting the note's existence. Minutes after the image was released Monday, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt posted that the birthday card story is false and said President Trump did not draw this picture and he did not sign it.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. There's a little bit more to this sound after the fucking commercial plays. Hang on a second. Everybody tap, please. Morning, Mia. Morning, everybody. How are you guys?
Interview with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, Epstein's co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell acknowledged compiling the birthday book, but claimed not to remember if Trump contributed to it.
It's been so long, I want to tell you that I don't remember. I honestly don't remember.
Also included in the records released by the Epstein estate, a birthday message to Epstein apparently from former President Bill Clinton, written before Epstein's conviction. Clinton has denied ever having done.
Yeah, there's that. So with all that being said, yesterday or the day before yesterday, the federal judge dismisses Trump's defamation lawsuit against the Wall Street Journal publisher. Remember, right? Donald Trump's method to respond to things like this is just to sue people. Now, I'm surprised, to be honest, that the lawsuit got this far because of discovery, but the judge just decided to dismiss it. Federal judge yesterday dismissed the president's defamation suit against the publisher of the Journal. U.S. District Judge Darren Gales, based in Miami, ruled that Trump hadn't made a valid legal claim that he was defamed by an article about a letter to financier J.E. bearing Trump's name. The judge said that to show defamation, Trump had to demonstrate that the Journal and its reporters acted with actual malice, meaning they deliberately published a false story or showed reckless disregard for the truth. Trump failed to show that. The reporters who did this acted with ill will and deliberately avoided investigating his claim that the letter was fake, the judge said. The complaint comes nowhere close to this standard. Quite the opposite, wrote Gales, who was appointed by Barack Obama. Of course, that's what the right's going to use now. Anywho, he noted that the journalists reached out to Trump, Justice Department officials, and the FBI before publication. Quote, in short, the complaint and the article confirm that the defendants In short, the complaint and the article confirm that the defendants attempted to investigate. The judge said Trump could file a new amended lawsuit if he wishes and gave him until April 27th to do so. A spokesman for Trump's legal team said the president would refile this powerhouse lawsuit against the Journal and other defendants. A spokesman for the Wall Street Journal's publisher, Dow Jones and Company, said, "We stand behind the reliability, rigor, and accuracy of the Wall Street Journal's reporting." In July, they reported on a book given to Epstein for his 50th birthday in 2003, included a letter with typewritten text framed by the outline of a naked woman. "Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret," the letter said. It was signed Donald. The article included comments from Trump, who denied writing the letter and threatened legal action. A day later, Trump sued Dow and its parent company, News Corp, Rupert Murdoch, Fox, that whole group, in federal court. The lawsuit brought 2 claims alleging defamation. In each, he asked for at least $10 billion. The suit also named as a defendant the News Corp chairman emeritus, Rupert Murdoch, its chief executive, Robert Thompson, and 2 Wall Street Journal reporters. Trump argued that no authentic letter or drawing ever existed and that the journal had sought to malign his character. My guy, you do a good enough job maligning your own character with this shit, because we're going to get back to this in just a second. Lawyers for Dow Jones said the article was true, and they cited a subsequent release of the letter by the House Oversight Committee, which received a copy of the birthday book from Epstein's estate. Let me just go back to that. Okay. They also argued the contents of the letter were consistent with Trump's reputation and noted that the article contained Trump's denial that he wrote it. Quote, President Trump also publicly admitted to locker room talk and has made numerous body public statements the lawyers wrote because actions have consequences. Trump has said he cut off ties long before Epstein was first arrested in 2006. Epstein pled guilty in Florida State Court to soliciting a minor for prostitution in 2008. Federal prosecutors in 2019 charged Epstein with sex trafficking underage girls in Florida and in New York. Epstein died in Manhattan federal jail while awaiting trial. His death was ruled as self-unaliving, but more and more information coming out about that. The article's publication came as the Trump administration was besieged by questions about why it hadn't released more Epstein-related documents in the Justice Department's possession. In November, Congress passed the Epstein Files Transparency Act, 116 days since the Trump administration is violating that law. It did require the department and the attorney general to make unclassified documents released to Epstein and his associate publicly available within 30 days. Each signed the legislation, and millions of pages and images and other files have been released, but not everything. The president has for years been a frequent litigant against media outlets. In September, a federal judge tossed Trump's $15 billion defamation lawsuit against the New York Times and Random House and several reporters. The ruling characterized the president's legal complaint as politicized screed that violated basic court requirements. Trump has since filed a new version of that complaint. The Times and co-defendants have said the lawsuit lacks merit and moved to dismiss it once again. Trump in December also sued the BBC for defamation over the broadcaster's editing of a documentary that featured his speech before J6 2021. BBC has moved to dismiss the case, and a spokesman said the news organization would defend itself in court. So, that's why we kind of try to build these stories. Like when you've got Caroline Levitt saying, hey, if I'm saying it up here, it's the truth. Then she lies whenever she opens her mouth. And then Trump denying that letter existed. Then the letter existed. Then I don't do drawings. Come to find out that he has done drawings in the past. Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But again, nothing to see here. Totally fine. It's because of this image that he's created that whenever there's something, go Steve's mom. Thank you. These images that we've, this image that he's tried to portray of himself, of this businessman. I found this story that was reported on a couple years ago by a former producer of The Apprentice. And all the things they had to do to stage that show to make him look like he was this successful businessman. And here we sit. And now situations with his attempt to portray himself as Jesus, and his defense was, actually, no, it was supposed to be a doctor. Okay, good luck with that. So anyway, we'll follow the story with whether or not they're going to decide to refile this case, because the president on Live Social said this. Hang on a second. If you guys, I don't know if you guys subscribe to True Social, but if you do, maybe you shouldn't. I don't know. But my handle on True Social is Jack Smith's Bitch, in case you're interested. So 2 things here. Okay.
Our powerful case against the Wall Street Journal and other defendants was asked to be refiled by the judge. It is not a termination. It is a suggested refiling. And we will be as per the order. Refiling an updated lawsuit on or before April 27th, President DJT.
So, track record for the things that he does. And then there was another statement because he was talking about the New York Times and how he's obsessed with bad coverage.
For those people that still read the failing New York Times, and despite the fact that Iran has been totally obliterated militarily and otherwise, you would think that Iran is actually winning, or at the very least doing quite well. But that's not true. And the New York Times knows that it's fake news. When does this corrupt media outlet apologize for their lies and horrible actions against me? My supporters and our country itself, have they no shame? Have they no sense of decency? President Donald J. Trump.
Remember how I told you stylistically, when he makes these True Social posts, he uses all caps. And you could tell the story of the things that he wants to catch the attention of his base. So in this statement, obliterated, all caps, fake news, all caps, lies, all caps, have they no shame, have they no sense of decency, all caps, right? It's like, don't worry about reading everything else. Just look at the words that I'm telling you. And we're going to get into more of that this morning too. So there's that. Okay. I want to talk a little bit now again about actions and consequences, because there is let me read the statement, the bullshit statement from Eric Swalwell. And friends, I want people to understand something, right? How quickly the story has changed. I'm going to play some sound from the politics girl or news girl in just a minute, because I think she summarizes the story pretty well. But just this statement is fucking wild to me. He was the front runner to be the California governor 4 days ago. Then his bullshit apology, not even apology, then his bullshit statement, then video evidence of him in a hotel room, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This is his statement. I am deeply sorry to my family, staff, and constituents for mistakes in judgment I've made in my past. I will fight the serious false allegations made against me. However, I must take responsibility and ownership for the mistakes I did make. Oh, okay. So what mistakes did you make, Eric? You're a fucking predator, my guy. You are a fucking predator. You are exactly why we make the statement, it's all men. You're a predator. I am aware of the efforts to bring an immediate expulsion vote against me and other members. Expelling anyone in Congress without the due process within days of an allegation being made is wrong, but it's also wrong for my constituents to have me distracted from my duties. Therefore, I plan to resign my seat in Congress. I'll work with my staff in the coming days to ensure that they are able, in my absence, to serve the needs of the good people of the 14th Congressional Districts. Let's be very clear about something. The only reason he is doing this is so he does not face an ethics investigation. Plain and fucking simple. By the way, the last person expelled from Congress, anybody know? You guys are the smartest chat on TikTok. I bet you know. Does anybody know who the last person that was expelled from Congress is? Let's see. Does anybody know the answer to this? Yes, exactly. See, you guys are the smartest chat on TikTok, no doubt about it. It was, in fact, George Santos, or whatever his multiple names were. So yeah, he's facing an expulsion vote. And then to double down on that, because Tony Gonzalez, don't forget, the rep from Texas, who had an affair that was so detailed that his affair partner ended up taking her own life by setting herself on fire. Yeah, that's right. And the president pardoned George Santos. That's absolutely right. So let me play this little sound from the politics girl, or the news girl, Lisa Remillard, because there are a few names. There are potentially as many as 4 members of Congress that will be likely losing their job, and 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans. And Mike Johnson's going to find himself in a really difficult position. I'm sorry, bitch boy. He's going to find himself in a difficult position because he can't bring up expulsion charges against Swalwell and Rep. McCormick without doing the same with Corey Mills and Tony Gonzalez. So they're likely all to resign because they don't want the ethics investigations to continue. Although the Democrat in this case has already faced ethics charges and apparently like 25 charges against her for improper use of campaign funds. Lock them all up. Throw them all fucking out of Congress. Throw them all out, okay? So this is from yesterday, and she summarizes this very well. So I'll just play this for you.
And a Democrat just announced they are resigning from Congress over sexual misconduct allegations. The Democrat, of course, Representative Eric Swalwell of California, he not only dropped out of the race for California governor, he just announced he's also resigning his seat in Congress. And seconds ago, Republican Representative Tony Gonzalez of Texas also said he's resigning.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. Swalwell and Gonzalez aren't the only ones who may be out of Congress before the midterm election. So let's start with Swalwell. He just posted to his social media page saying, "It's wrong for my constituents to have me distracted from my duties. Therefore, I plan to resign my seat in Congress." We need to acknowledge the absolute speed in which Swalwell fell. Just 4 days ago, he was the leading Democrat in the race to be the next governor of California, but bombshell allegations of sexual assault were brought against him by former female staffers. Immediately, he lost key endorsements and support in California. There were calls for him to drop out of the race. By Saturday, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office put out a statement saying it was opening a criminal investigation into those assault allegations because they allegedly happened in New York. By Sunday, the calls were getting louder from Congress for him to resign his House seat. And in fact, many Democrats said they would support a resolution to expel Swalwell from his seat if he refused to step down yesterday.
Fundamental difference right there between the parties. Democrats jumping on board saying, absolutely, let's expel his ass. Where was that sentiment when Tony Gonzalez was connected to this? There was none. There literally was none. So again, we're talking about holding people accountable. Plain and fucking simple. We're talking about holding people accountable. If you truly care about corruption, if you truly care about protecting survivors, if you truly care about the rule of law, then where the fuck are the Republicans in this situation? They'll only step up if it's a Democrat. Democrats are stepping up. Don't forget, the pressure for Al Franken to resign came from the Democratic Party. Plain and simple. Back to this story.
Swalwell said he was dropping out of the race for California governor. And today, the House Ethics Committee announced it was opening an investigation into him too.
Shocker.
So a short time ago, Swalwell said he was resigning.
Yeah.
He apologized in his post, saying, "I am deeply sorry to my family, staff, and constituents for mistakes in judgment I've made in my past. I will fight the serious false allegations made against me. However, I must take responsibility and ownership of the mistakes I did make." He then went on to say of the effort trying to expel him from Congress that expelling anyone from Congress without due process within days of an allegation being made is wrong. But then he said he would resign and he will work with his staff in the coming days to ensure that they are able to serve the needs of the good people of the 14th Congressional District. He did not say when his last day would be. Now, let's talk about Representative Tony Gonzalez of Texas. He just posted to his social media page saying, "There is a season for everything and God has a plan for us all. When Congress returns tomorrow, I will file my retirement from office. It has been my privilege to serve the great people of Texas." Now, Tony Gonzalez has been under investigation for a while by the House Ethics Committee for allegations of sexual misconduct, also with a staffer. That woman, sadly, ultimately took her own life.
Yeah.
Gonzalez had already said that he would not run for re-election, but when the Swalwell thing started to really heat up, the calls started to come from inside the Republican House for Gonzalez to step down now.
Yeah.
It's important to know that now that Swalwell and Gonzalez are resigning, the House ethics investigations into them will likely stop.
That's not a coincidence, friends, okay? Because if you're not a member of Congress, then in theory, the ethics investigations don't continue. Similarly with Matt Gaetz, right? Similarly, which is fucking bullshit. Can we all agree that it is fucking bullshit? If you are involved, this is the thing, we discussed this yesterday, right? About how the system's stacked to support these people in power. You've got whether these relationships are consensual is not the issue as far as I'm concerned. The issue is power. You have control. You are men in power manipulating the situation. So when they're finally facing an ethics investigation, that's when they decide to step down. Thank you, self-made man. Appreciate you. Do you like them? Thank you. Appreciate you very much. Thank you. Appreciate that, sir. Do you like the blue? I don't know. I mean, I would certainly recommend going through the color palette and maybe finding one that you really, really like. But I appreciate your compliment. Thank you so much. It's very kind of you. So when you're men in position of power, and you can prey on people either in your employ or in your community, and then you just get to walk away. You just get to walk away. Okay. Don't forget, there's this congressional point. It's not a slush fund. It is a literal fund that helps members of Congress not only with issues that are non-SA and or non-manipulation. It could just be anything. It could be an HR complaint for whatever reason, hostile workplace. But they paid out like $17 million in like, I don't know, 15, 20 years, but whatever. Nothing to see
and
here.
The committee no longer has jurisdiction over them. But as I mentioned, Swalwell and Gonzalez aren't the only ones who may be out of Congress sooner rather than later. Another Democrat, Representative Sheila Surflewis McCormick of Florida, is on the verge of being expelled.
Yeah.
The House Ethics Committee concluded that she violated ethics rules after a grand jury indicted her on charges she stole pandemic relief funds and put them towards her campaign. She has denied any wrongdoing. And then, of course, there is Republican Representative from Florida, Corey Mills, who is also under investigation by House Ethics over allegations of campaign finance violations and accusations of sexual misconduct and or dating violence. The House will be returning from recess tomorrow, and it is possible we could start seeing some real talk about expulsion for these two congressmen too. Now, this is serious. It doesn't happen very often. In Congress's 237-year history, there have only been 6 members of the House expelled. The last, of course, was Republican Representative from New York, George Santos, in 2023.
6. How many times? 6 times in 230 years of Congress. 6 times. 6. I mean, George Santos deserved to be expelled from Congress because he committed fraud. I mean, multiple identities but I mean, all these people who committed these crimes against staffers and whatever else, and they just get a pass. Like we always say, it's the system. Who benefits the most in this system? It's white men. Followed by white men, then followed again by white men. So here we sit. We're going to find out. It'll be interesting this week because we still have elections. There's elections today all across the country. There's special elections. There's judgeships. There's ballot referendums, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So please get out there. Who replaced Santos? What's his name? Is that Tom Suozzi? Did Tom Suozzi replace Santos? I think he might have. Anyway, we'll see. We'll see what they do. So this is another reason if you want changes to the system, right? If you want changes to the system, you've got to be involved. And as we discussed, actions have consequences. I went back in time and I asked a couple of questions. Every once in a while, I don't use AI very often. On occasion, I'll use Claude or something to that. But every once in a while, I like to prompt it. So you can prompt it and ask questions. So I asked a couple of questions. What would America look like if Jimmy Carter had won the election? What would America look like if Al Gore had won the election? Because actions have consequences. My constant effort to remind people that we have to be involved and why it's so crucial when margins are so close, in particular in Florida, 547 votes was the difference between Al Gore and George W. Bush becoming the president. Al Gore lost his own state of Tennessee, so there's a lot of self-reflection there, right? But that's my point. Actions have consequences, and so do elections. So we're going to get all that taken care of. We'll talk about all that this morning. But it's going to be an interesting week as Congress does return today, or Hillary, exactly. Do I expect there to be mass exodus? It's hard to say. There's a story out of Maine where a lot of people in the state of Maine who are running for statewide offices have removed themselves from their party affiliation. They were Republicans, are now running as independents, and it's not something that's new. It's been happening quite a bit actually, and it's a telling tale when you don't want to be connected to today's Republican Party. And I get it. I mean, why would you? It's not a winning strategy to be connected to that party. I think its number is 6 or 7 of statewide Republicans have either left their party affiliation, but their social media would tell them that they've been Republicans and or Trump supporters. They're now trying to distance themselves from that brand. Okay, so we'll keep watching that. On that topic, this is the Bulwark. Sarah Longwell and Ashley Parker have done some reporting on this. And I think it's interesting because you're starting to survey voters. And I've got some great sound I'm going to play from Fox News that Jessica Tarloff was talking about. We've talked about this a lot, about how the messaging from the Biden administration was horrible regarding the economy. You can certainly talk things about from the macro level about how, the United States recovered quickly from COVID compared to any other G7 country. Our inflation rate dropped more quickly, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it failed. The messaging argument failed because people's prices were still going up. People were still paying more. All those kinds of things. So they failed, and that ended up being something that the Trump campaign successfully ran on. Did it get them anywhere? Because we're in the same position. So I'll play some sound for you about how the Democrats have learned this, and it seems like the Republicans have not. So this is Ashley Parker and Sarah Longwell talking about surveying voters, just to kind of give a general sentiment. Here you go.
Show the way we start every focus group, which is we ask, same question, every group, how do you think things are going in the country?
I enjoy travel. Of course, I won't be traveling anytime soon because of the lines at the airport. But when not traveling, I enjoy hiking as well.
The economy is going down. Gas prices are super high. Investment portfolios are.
These are Biden to Trump voters, by the way.
Are down below what they've been within the last year. Food is expensive, of course. I just think the economy is on a downward spiral right now.
I have a lot of people I know who have bachelors who have been working like retail for the past couple of years because of it. And I also think just the dividedness, we can't really be friends with the other side.
Lots of things are expensive right now. Like we're looking at health insurance tripling for the same services last year. And that's from health, dental, vision, all the above. Even car insurance needs a cap, if you ask me. But yeah, it's pretty expensive. And the pay didn't increase, but the bills did.
And those are Biden to Trump voters, right? Somebody just said, check out the consumer sentiment report. I thought I had that. Mods, could you do me a solid and pull the consumer sentiment report? Because I think from a top line, when I read it, it's the worst it's been in 40 years, something to that effect. But it's telling, right? It's the same thing. I mean, listen, we know that our electorate, by and large, is not exactly the most informed, but you can't fool us all the time. Right? You just can't. These are Biden to Trump voters thinking for some reason that the economy was better during the first 4 years of the first Trump administration when they really weren't. The inflation rate sits at 3.3%. We know that it's up. So let me pull this sound from Jessica Tarloff. Again, she's always doing the work, right? And I respect that. She is, the only voice on the five, but it's interesting, and I want you to hear the gaslighting, and I want you to hear the spin coming from the other panelists, Kayleigh McEnany in particular. It's crazy, but here you go. This is the world we live in. Everyone keep tapping, please.
I just think you guys aren't paying attention to what's actually happening right now across the country and the experience of the average American, and also in elections that we have been having since 2024. Every prominent Democrat, save for Kamala Harris and from what we've heard from Joe Biden, has talked explicitly about mistakes that were made throughout the Biden years, talking about open border problems and how that wasn't addressed on time, media strategy problems, telling people, no, your wallet is fuller than you think it is, or we have a faster recovery than everyone else in the G7, so you should be thankful for that, that we prioritized cultural issues over economic issues, or that was people's perception of us. So I just don't see that as reality. And we could, tick through the evidence of this, that people today are worse off than they were under Joe Biden, that they feel it, that inflation report, bad, going up a percentage point over the course of the last month. The Michigan consumer
it's a temporary spike.
Maybe it is, but sure. But let's say 9%. But this is the thing. We already lost for that.
Yeah, you did.
And this is.
See what I mean? So Jesse Waters chimes in. Well, with 9%, yeah, no shit. We understand that. We lost for that. But she is giving them media messaging in real time. Like, you guys, you're not taught. Didn't you learn from us? We fucked this up. We did not talk about this the way we should have. And I hate it when I'm right, but I talked to you guys about going into the election about how the Democrats missed the mark on messaging. Of course, the economy recovered quicker than any G7 nation. That's at the macro level. Mr. and Mrs. Smith in rural America don't give a fuck about macroeconomics. They care why it was so expensive and it wasn't as expensive the first time. And here we are again. It's the exact same thing. So instead of the administration, and this administration in particular, will never admit their mistakes. They're just going to try to change the fucking narrative. They're just going to try to change the fucking narrative. And Jessica Tarloff is giving them, she's literally putting the ball in the tee for them. Guys, we learned from this. Are you not? All right.
That's what happened on CNBC this morning, and why Joe Kernan was embarrassed and Andrew Ross-Sorkin jumped in to say, Pete's just giving you the facts on the ground. we lost and we learned lessons from it. And saying that this is just temporary, it's temporary because of a choice that the president made, that he doesn't have the backing of the American people.
Secure the people from nuclear weapons. And I would just note,
no evidence that there was
food
nuclear
inflation.
weapons
Food inflation
on the
was
way.
flat. Medical care costs declined. Used car prices
if you want to say this is
declined.
good, okay. GDP.
See what I mean? See what I mean? Like, they're going to pull one or two things out and try to run on that, denying the fucking obvious. It's the exact same mistake the Biden-Harris administration made. The exact same mistake. Okay, good luck.
PQ4 revised down 2 days ago to 0.5%. The consumer sentiment index, lowest in history. They've been tracking it since the 1960s.
There you go.
We're winning elections everywhere. School board seats in Missouri, state Supreme Court seats in Wisconsin. You know what's going on. You pay attention to this just as much as I pay attention.
Consumer confidence in the United States decreased to 47.6. Thank you, Francis. Hashtag free Francis. Consumer confidence in the United States decreased by 47.6 points in April from 53.3 points in March of 2026. It is let's see, historically low. Like, historically low. So here we are. It's the same fucking mistake. Let them run with it, because it's always about the economy, stupid. They always say that. You could have the best. Hey, Matt. Thanks for letting me join your show last night. I appreciate that, by the way. Matt and Nemo were kind enough to bring me up late night because there was a fellow Vermonter up there that was woefully misinformed, and I revoked his citizenship. I redacted his citizenship. I deported him to New Hampshire, just so you know. But it's the same mistake the previous administration made. It's the same fucking mistake, and our elected officials will never learn. You could sit there and say, you know, obviously we fucked up on our messaging, and it really does sound like the Democrats got the memo. We have to talk about things in terms of affordability. I don't like the fact. How can I say this? It's not like the Democrats' messaging has gotten any better. It's a little bit more narrowed. I try to be objective because they're talking about things in terms of affordability now. They're talking about things in terms of freedom and all those kinds of things, and that's relevant. Those are winning messages. But the Democrats are winning these special elections because the Republicans just suck so fucking bad. And the Democrats are going to win the House in November because the Republicans suck so fucking bad. And they're likely going to take the Senate because, say it with me, the Republicans suck so fucking bad. That's not an effective campaign messaging. Today's Democrats, we don't suck as much. Like, you know, I get it, but people want solutions. People want to vote for people that they stand for, they want to vote for people that stand for them. They want progressive politics. They want a progressive agenda. They want to force Supreme Court reform. They want to go after Citizens United. And that was that conversation I had when I had the pleasure of meeting with my Senator, Peter Welch, last week. And I pressed him on that shit. I'm like, why are we still talking about these fucking table scraps? Why are you not going out and using your platform? You're one of 100 senators. Why are you not using your platform every day to tell people we need to get money out of politics? And this is my idea. People be like, fuck yeah, let's get money out of politics. Why are you not talking about overturning Citizens United? This is the issue we have with moderates. I mean, Peter Welch falls in that category. He's a good man. He's done a lot for our state. He's helped support the indigenous population up here. He's done a lot for education reform in our state. He's served in our state legislature for many, many years. He's done a lot to get emergency funding for ambulance services and EMS and EMS response teams. He's a good man. He's a decent man, but he's a moderate. He's not going to push on things enough. He's a harm reduction candidate. I would probably vote for him, but I want progressives. I want a Zohran Mamdani who's going to go out there and fight. I want people to say, we don't have to take this shit. And here we are again in the same fucking cycle. And I will remind people, I think they revised the numbers. 79% of registered voters in Hungary showed up. And what happened? What happened? We push back against a 16-year autocrat who cozied up to Putin, plain and fucking simple. We want change. We should demand it. Now, there's people in our country who want to burn the whole fucking thing down, and I get that. I understand it. But what's the solution? What's the solution to the nihilistic anarchists, the Communist Party of America? What's the solution? I get it. I mean, I can't stand capitalism because it's what it's done to us. But what is the solution? Is it a voter registration push? What is it? We could all have that conversation. I had the opportunity to speak to quite a few members of a Communist Party gathering in New York City when I was down there. And it was a good conversation. There's a couple people came up to me afterwards and said, yeah, I guess we really kind of think about our messaging. I'm like, yeah, because I think people would support what you're talking about, but how do we get there? So if we're going to continue to be gaslit by people knowing full well that inflation is up to 3.3%, energy costs are up 12.5%, they're only going to go higher. It's only going to get worse. You're going to see $5 an hour, $5 an hour, $5 a gallon in gas likely this summer driving season. It's the same thing, right? It's the same fucking system. So when they are lying to you, call them out. Do that shit. Go to your town hall. So as horrible as it is, what happened to these young women, these staffers, and the people that were frauded by a Democratic elected official in Florida, there's reckoning. Actions have consequences. And maybe for the first time, we're starting to see it. So this is Roger Marshall, since we're talking about gas prices. This is Roger Marshall, who's a senator from, where's he from? Is he from Oklahoma, I think? Yeah. This is from this morning at 8 a.m., 8:14 a.m., so just a few minutes ago. I have not heard it myself yet, but let's see what Roger Marshall has to say.
Good news is we're the leading producer of oil in the world. We're exporting more than we're importing. We're not standing in lines. That overall wages have been growing faster than inflation under this president. Here it is. It's going to be tax day very soon. And Americans are going to get an extra $1,000 or $1,500 rebate as well. So I'm sorry the gas prices are going up, but help is on its way. And your national security, yes, is even more important than your pocketbook.
So you want to tell families that? So listen, if you're a middle class or you're a working poor voter in rural America and these rural hospitals have closed because of the one big ugly bill and cuts to Medicaid, cuts to Medicare, cuts to SNAP, ACA subsidies disappearing, losing jobs, inflation up across the board, tariff imposed sanctions, gutting the farming industry. You think those people care more about national security than they do about gas prices and the cost of living? This exactly proves my point. They proved my point. The exercise that we just went through, Jessica Tarloff saying, listen, we learned from our mistake. Are you guys not going to do the same thing? No, they're not. Yeah, the rebate checks we're supposed to get, all those promises. And of all things that are going to sink this administration, it's Donald Trump depicting himself as Jesus Christ. So there's that. Anyway, elections are always about, thank you, ma'am. Elections are always about the economy. They always are. Right, there are of course nuances. Most Americans are single issue voters. The majority of voters on the right are single issue voters. You'll ask people, they'll say immigration, or they'll say men and women's sports, or your Second Amendment rights, right? And when you don't have legislation that helps them, abortion. Potentially, yeah, that's very true. Good point. You're right, Ash. But my point is, it always comes down to the economy. After every single poll, after every single exit polling, when you survey people pre and post, it always comes down to the economy. That's my point. So when you are missing your messaging to the electorate that's already under pressure, and you want to mock them and say, oh yeah, don't worry, gas, it's just temporary. We're the biggest oil producers in the world. We got the biggest dick military. We can swing whatever the fuck we want. Don't worry. Don't worry. It's totally fine. You failed. You've already lost, because now you are just mocking your base, and then you just double down with your Jesus imagery. So I want to get into that. Let's talk about it, because the blowback has been wild, absolutely fucking wild. So let's put the picture back up. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but the president has pulled this post down because of the amount of heat he's taken over it, right? Like, it's been, first of all, like I said before, I don't recall ever going to a position with his hand lights up. Like, I want to, when it's the turn your head and cough, I've never seen a light. Have you? I've never seen like the glowing healing hands. Not once. Not once. So let's play the sound from the president as to what he said, I'm not going to say his reasoning or how he wanted it depicted, because again, he failed miserably on the messaging. Here you go.
Picture of yourself depicted as Jesus Christ?
Well, it wasn't depicted. It was me. I did post it, and I thought it was me as a doctor, and it had to do with Red Cross, as a Red Cross worker there, which we support. And only the fake news could come up with that one. So I just heard about it, and I said, how did they come up with that? It's supposed to be me as a doctor making people better, and I do make people better. I make people a lot better. As an example,
what?
The 11,900.
You make people a lot better? Oh, the staged Uber Eats event yesterday with a woman who brought McDonald's to the fucking White House. You know what? I'm sorry. I mean, this may be fucking petty, but it's the fucking White House, and you get a McDonald's delivery. Don't get me wrong. I would destroy a quarter pounder with cheese, even though I haven't had one in years. I would love to, but it's the fucking White House, right? Okay, back to this.
I understand your husband's going through treatment.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He's going through some very serious cancer treatment, so
yes, sir.
This goes a long way.
Yes, sir, it sure does.
Has the lobbying started, sir?
Yeah, it started 10 o'clock.
Bishop Robert Barron supports you and your policies and praises you for defending religious freedom.
Yeah.
He now says you owe Pope Leo an apology. Will you apologize?
No, I don't, because Pope Leo said things that are wrong. He was very much against what I'm doing with regard to Iran, and you cannot have a nuclear Iran. Pope Leo would not be happy with the end result. You have hundreds of millions of people dead, and it's not going to happen, so I can't. I think he's very weak on crime and other things, so I'm not. I mean, he went public. I'm just responding to Pope Leo. And his brother is a big MAGA person, and he's a great guy, Louis. And I said, I like Louis better than I like the Pope. No, you have to have law and order in our country, and that's what we have now. We have the lowest crime numbers we've had in a long time, despite the fact that many criminals were allowed into our country, but we've gotten a lot of them out. We've done a great job on crime. So we have the lowest murder rate in 125 years, since 1900.
What?
The lowest murder rate. So
what?
We believe strongly in law and order, and he seemed to have a problem with that. So what? There's nothing to apologize for. He's wrong. The other thing is he didn't like what we're doing with respect to Iran, but Iran is wants to be a nuclear nation so they can exterminate the world. Not going to happen.
It's good to have you with us this hour. I'd just love to get your reaction to that image that the president posted and then deleted. He, of course, has said, as you just heard, he thought this was him being, depicted as a doctor. Not everyone sees that as a doctor. What do you make of this, both this image and the backlash to it in this moment?
Yeah, I don't know too many doctors that have glowing hands. So that's the most Jesus-looking picture I think I could imagine.
Yeah.
And I think it was...
Yeah, there's that. And then, of course, Stephen Colbert offers his unique perspective on it, because I think it's, because joy is resistance, friends.
Setbacks for Trump and his team, but the president took it all in stride and did the mature thing and attacked the Pope. Last night, he posted, Pope Leo is weak on crime. Yeah, man, he's the Pope.
He's the Pope.
He visits people in jail. Oh, it would be cool, though, if the Pope did fight crime. Then we could watch Murder, She Pope.
Murder, She Pope.
It was long. It was so long. It was a long, unhinged post, including a weird moment where he says, Leo does not sit well with me. Nothing sits well with you. All you're sitting looks like clinical depression on a toilet. This is unprecedented. This is, according to one Italian religious historian, not even Hitler or Mussolini attacked the Pope so directly and publicly. Woo. It's never great when someone says you should really be more discreet and respectful. You know, like Hitler.
This timeline. Well, the Pope has reacted, and we're going to get into a lot of, I touched on this briefly yesterday, but the Catholic Church's reaction at the same time, the Catholic Church has been recruiting, especially young men, pretty aggressively. We're going to hear from some of the cardinals. I want you to hear from the Pope first, since he's been the one his name's been invoked. Here you go.
Peace for every nation, a peace that is not merely an absence of conflict, but one that is an expression of justice and dignity. This peace, which allows us to face the future with a reconciled spirit, is possible only through forgiveness. The true struggle for liberation will be definitely won only when peace in our hearts has finally been achieved. I know how difficult it is to forgive. However, as conflicts continue to multiply throughout the world, we cannot add resentment upon resentment, generation after generation. The future belongs to men and women of peace. In the end, justice will always triumph over injustice, just as violence, despite all appearances, will never have the last word.
It's just, you're gonna pick a fight with the Pope, my guy? You are literally gonna pick a fight with the Pope, and you're not gonna apologize? You pissed off lots of people, and you now stated directly that you posted it, even though you said you didn't post the Obama meme depicting Barack and Michelle as monkeys. You didn't post that. Somebody else did. Has that person been fired? You posted this, it got taken down. So help us understand, because I'm just curious. Is it like every Tuesday and Thursday you post? And then Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, because Sunday's a holy day. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, that would be the days that your staffers post? I'm not sure. I'm trying to figure that out. I don't get the strategy, the strategery. Good morning, brother. How are you?
Dude, this is cracking me up. I just want to thank you for the laughs. I'm sure your chat is freaking out. We one of your mods has to do like a photo of Trump showing up at the pearly gates with the Pope together, like, and just have the look on St. Peter's face, like, dude.
It's like, dude, the fuck?
Oh man, I'm enjoying your show. Keep going. I just got to do something with my comedy at freaking 9 o'clock in the morning. You drive me. You make me think of funny shit at fucking 9 a.m. It's too early.
Then my work here is done. I appreciate you, my friend. Have a good day.
I love
Be
you,
safe
bro.
out
See
there.
you later, man.
You too, man. See you later. It's true. It's true. Like, what? You're pissed. You want to pick a fight with the Catholics? Okay. Good luck. Good morning, Daniel. How are you today?
Great. Yourself?
Fine, thank you. Okay. Bye-bye. Performance anxiety, sir? Sorry. Okay. Couple of other things on this topic as we're I played that. There was another moment that that didn't necessarily get enough attention. I'm gonna play that now. This is thank you, Sam. I saw briefly that story about Sharon Simmons, who's the person who showed up for the DoorDash, but a couple of moments that didn't necessarily go very well during this obviously staged presser, because last time I checked, you can't just drive up.
So it's such an honor to meet you.
You can't just drive up to the White House and, you know, deliver McDonald's. But here's an interesting moment. He was supposed to tip her.
It's fantastic. It's such an honor to meet you. And I think you voted for me, do you think?
Maybe.
Maybe.
I heard you're a great supporter. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'll put this over here. Why don't we have a news conference with the president? Want to do it?
Sure.
You don't have to say too much. I think they're looking about hormones straight and various other things. Do you have any questions?
Maybe. I think you voted for me. Delivery driver's like, maybe. I love that shit, man. Let's go.
Good morning, Steve.
Hi, Zoe. How are you today?
I'm doing well. I don't know who's in charge of his press, but you're having an old lady who should be home, retired, relaxing, doing DoorDash. And this is what? To promote how great America is going? And then you're going to ask her about... You know what I mean? Like, it's ridiculous. Then you're going to ask her about men and women's sports. And I love the way she answered it. She said, I don't know about that. I'm just here about the tips. like it's completely crazy. If this is a representation of our country, like for people looking in, oh my God, Steve.
Well, and then the stage presser, he forgot he was supposed to tip her. It was probably a Trump $100 bill that's not even in currency yet that he probably tipped her with, right?
Exactly. That was such a horrible representation of our country. But the good thing is I speak to a lot of people on this app and they know it's not all of us. And that, you know, that makes me feel good because I speak to people from all over the world and they're like, listen, we know it's not all of you. We know. But I don't think, you know, what's going on with Trump now, I don't know if the rest of the world is going to forgive us. You know, they tried to forgive us when Biden came back. Okay, wow, we made a little bloop. Maybe it's going to be okay. But now I don't think there's any turning back. I don't mean to be negative on a Tuesday morning, but anyway.
Yeah, you're right. Like Francis just pointed this out, #FreeFrancis. He was talking about the auto pen during the Easter egg roll at the White House lawn on Sunday. So that's the person who's in charge.
That's the person
sitting down with children, talking about the auto pen.
Biden and Obama lives rent-free in his head. This man is obsessed. It's like a stalker.
What about Biden? You're absolutely right.
What about Biden?
So
like, he's such a stalker. But anyway, Steve, thank you for bringing me up. Thank you. I watch your show every morning. Good day.
Thank you. Appreciate you very much. Have a good day. Be safe out there. Yeah. So there's that. And then this story from the DoorDash grandma. Let's play a little sounder from her. This has been reported by the Daily Beast. Apparently, she's got a bit of an interesting past. So everybody keep tapping, please. Don't forget, the dollar train has been started. Some folks have already contributed. I appreciate you all. Here we go.
You know, over half of my my amount that I earned last year were tips. And so that is an incredible amount. So, you know, I mean, if you really want to break down the numbers, I probably saved probably $3,000 to $4,000 with not having to pay.
There you go. The DoorDash driver who found herself in the national spotlight while delivering McDonald's to Donald Trump at the Oval Office was no random courier. Sharon Simmons, 58, grandmother of 10, from Fayetteville,
there was Jim.
From Fayetteville, Arkansas, went viral after being filmed knocking on the Oval Office door and handing the the president 2 bags of McDonald's on Monday. So actually, it's a paywall. I can't get past this. That's fine. We'll go back to it. Anyway, just think it's just fucking comical that you bring her up and she's like, you voted for me, right? It's like, I don't know, maybe. I don't know. Let's get back to this though, because some of the blowback in his circles has been crazy. I'm going to play the sound from Aaron Parnas. Did a good job compiling this. Mods, I have this too. Thank you guys. I think this is probably the best way to sort of summarize, where things are. Here you go.
We have some big news this afternoon. The White House is facing major blowback after a stunt gone wrong. If you missed it, Donald Trump and the White House held a stunt this afternoon where a grandma, DoorDash driver with a grandma t-shirt on, came to the White House and delivered McDonald's. The point of the stunt was to support and show how no tax on tip policies help everyday Americans. But since that moment, the president has been called out for a, quote, let them eat cake moment. Because we're learning that the DoorDash driver, her name's Sharon, actually from Arkansas. It was a complete stunt. And, well, she has been using the tips she has received from DoorDash to pay off her husband's cancer treatment. And while Americans are saying she shouldn't have to, a grandma of 10 should not have to be driving for DoorDash while also having to try to pay off thousands of dollars in cancer treatment. So lots of news to cover. There's also news about Iran, Trump comparing himself to Jesus, and more. And I have the latest this afternoon. If you can, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Subscribe to my Substack. Click the link below to support my work. I want to begin by telling you about what happened today. This is from DoorDash headquarters. A DoorDash delivery made its way to one of the most recognizable addresses in the world today. 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Sharon Simmons, a Dasher from Arkansas, marked her order complete at the doors of the Oval Office on the south lawn of the White House, an unconventional drop-off to commemorate the first anniversary of the no tax on tips policy. For Sharon, the moment was personal. A grandmother of 10, she started dashing in 2022 to earn income while keeping control of her schedule. Since then, she's completed more than 14,000 deliveries, and like millions of Dashers, is now keeping more of what she earns in tips. Since no tax on tips was enacted, we estimate Dashers have saved hundreds of millions of dollars. Well, many people saw that and said, well, why should Sharon have to be driving as a grandmother? And she's a driver from Arkansas.
Such a great point. You know, we've had this conversation before with people in this space about, or just in general, and how many men, many MAGA men in particular, remember we discussed yesterday about how conservative men, by and large, are subs. They just don't want to admit it. Anywho, it's not a flex to work 70 hours a week. It's just not. It's not a flex. We don't want you to work 70 hours a week. We don't want 58-year-old grandmothers of 10 to have to DoorDash to pay for health care. It's not a flex. It's just not. Remember how we discuss all the time about how we have to stop settling for shit. It's not a flex. You're right, Kristen. They don't want women working. Apparently, it's fine when you're door dashing fucking Big Macs to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. So, bigger issue than just this stunt, right?
The Oval Office, Washington, D.C., is a far cry away from Arkansas. Not a local DMV driver. She didn't just pick up McDonald's because the White House ordered it. And if she was a local DMV driver, she wouldn't be able to get to the Oval Office like that. She wouldn't be able to pass clearance, pass vet. You as a president or as any politician, I mean, Michelle Obama once said this, you can't just order takeout or delivery. That's not how it works in the White House. But then there was this moment. Take a listen.
How much does this no tax on tips mean to you? I mean, I don't know what the structure of payment is there at DoorDash, how much you get in salary per delivery, and then how much of your income is tips. Can you kind of break it down to us and tell us what this no tax on tips really means for you?
Well, what this really means for me is, as they said last year, my husband, he was diagnosed with stage 3 cancer. During that time, I was able to take some time and take him to his appointments and, be there with him. But, as you know, going through treatment, even with insurance, you kind of break the bank. And, we pretty much went through our savings. And so when I found out about the no tax on tips, I was like, this is incredible, because this, it's not going to replace my life savings, but it's going to help certainly with future doctor's appointments.
And listen, a lot of Americans are saying, well, Sharon shouldn't have to DoorDash to be able to pay for her husband's medical care.
It's true. It's sad.
She, as a grandmother, should be able to be with her grandchildren should she want to do that. She should be with her husband who has stage 3 cancer, should she want to do that. She shouldn't have to be dashing and shouldn't have to be making an appearance for a $100 tip next to the President of the United States delivering him McDonald's. When in reality, healthcare costs should be cheaper. It should be less expensive to get cancer treatment in the United States of America. And well, it was also the press conference that the White House held, the impromptu press conference, that really solidified the stunt and the backlash the White House is receiving. Take a listen to this.
Mr. President, did you post that picture of yourself depicted as Jesus Christ?
Well, it wasn't depicted. It was me. I did post it, and I thought it was me as a doctor, and had to do with Red Cross as a Red Cross worker there, which we support. And only the fake news could come up with that one. So I just heard about it, and I said, how did they come up with that? It's supposed to be me as a doctor making people better, and I do make people better. I make people...
Standing next to Sharon, Trump claimed that this image of him was him as a doctor. How could they come up with that, he says, referring to the media. Not Jesus, right? This is him as a doctor, he says. Last time I checked, doctors don't use lights out of their hands to cure a patient. They don't have angels overhead or wear a white robe with a red shawl like that. This wasn't a doctor, and the president is actively gaslighting the American public and many of his supporters who commented on this image and even called him the Antichrist for posting this. They turned on him for posting this, and he has since deleted it. And now he's claiming that it's a doctor. But I want to take you back to when Pope Francis died last year. This is what Donald Trump posted. Was he a doctor here as well? Or was he trying to cosplay?
He put that famous picture of as the president, as the pontiff, sitting there with the papal cap. What's it called? The Pope, the cap, the papal cap. I like that. Just made that up. He depicted himself as the Pope. This is such a weird thing to do, right? It's such a weird thing to do because you've been able to secure the vote of the Christian right. Now, I know that the evangelical Christians and the Catholics don't get along, right? It's not necessarily they whatever. Anyway, you've been able to grab this, but you've got people in your own circle now that are calling this, sacrilegious and literally calling you the fucking Antichrist, my guy. You didn't have to do this, but you're not exactly the brightest bulb on the tree. Anyway, more from Aaron Parnas here.
As the Pope, I would argue the latter. Maybe he would argue the former, but that's not the only moment that caught a lot of people by surprise, because he was also standing next to Sharon the entire time, and he was asking her opinion on various politically charged topics, when in reality, she shouldn't have to be answering those questions.
Robert Barron supports you and your policies. He praises you for defending religious freedoms. He now says you owe Pope Leo an apology. Will you apologize?
No, I don't, because Pope Leo said things that are wrong. He was very much against what I'm doing with regard to Iran, and you cannot have a nuclear Iran. Pope Leo would not be happy with the end result. You have hundreds of millions of people dead, and it's not going to happen. So I can't. I think he's very weak on crime and other things. So I'm not. I mean, he went public. I'm just responding to Pope Leo, and his brother is a big MAGA person, and he's a great guy, Lewis.
No apology for Pope Leo. And well, if you want to know how the White House is dealing with this, here's what Dasha Burns, she's a political White House correspondent. She asked for a vibe check. Asked Trump world for memes that illustrate the mood at the White House right now as the president's blockading the Strait of Hormuz, feuding with Pope Leo, memeing himself as Jesus or a doctor. One administration official looked like that. That meme, the fire as he's on the computer.
Yeah, I mean,
two other people close to the White House said
that
it's fine, everything is fine meme.
Nothing to see here.
Trump says, my personality is going to keep us out of wars, another White House ally. So the White House this afternoon has been in disarray because of what the president has kind of led America into.
Aaron, due respect, the White House is always in disarray. News would be, hey, today the White House was not in disarray. Just between us, pal.
Grandma, DoorDash driver,
Future
with Red Cross is a Red Cross
with the red shawl like that. This wasn't a doctor, and the president is actively gaslighting the American. The only moment that
supports you.
What I'm doing was going to happen. So, brother is a big max
for a vibe check.
Here you go.
Ask Trump world for memes that illustrate the mood at the White House right now as the president's blockading the Strait of Hormuz, feuding with Pope Leo, memeing himself as Jesus or a doctor. One administration official looked like that meme, the fire as he's on the computer. Two other people close to the White House sent the "it's fine, everything is fine" meme. Trump says, "My personality is going to keep us out of wars," another White House ally. So the White House this afternoon has been in disarray because of what the president has kind of led America into. And that none of this includes what we're seeing with Iran and the blockade overseas, which has been implemented by just the United States of America, not other allies, which have rejected Donald Trump's advances thus far. So that's where we're at. We're going to have more updates for you soon, of course. I don't know what.
There's a little bit more because some of the other people in his orbit. Hang on one second. Dad duty. Apologies. Okay, so there's more people. Like we're talking about how this president and this administration in general has just never been one to be accountable. Like they're not accountable to themselves, therefore they're never going to be accountable to the American public. But when you've got people in your orbit who are really, really angry about what happened, especially the way that you've depicted yourself. Let me see if I can find this. Let's play this sound first. This was him getting after coming back from the UFC fight. While American soldiers are dying overseas, he's got time to go to a UFC fight and rub the leg of one of the boxers. I'm not sure if you saw that, but president kind of walks up and says, "You're a great fighter. Let me touch your thigh. I've got to go back on Truth Social and make myself look like Jesus, but boy, could I bless you." Hey now, anyway.
Pope Leo on Truth Social.
I don't think he's doing a very good job. He likes crime, I guess. He hit us. Think of it. He's worried about fear. What about the fear when the ministers and the priests and all of those great people that were arrested during COVID, and in many cases they're outside 10 feet apart, and they were arrested. We don't like a pope that's going to say that it's okay to have a nuclear weapon. We don't want a pope that says crime is okay in our cities. I don't like it. I'm not a big fan of Pope Leo. He's a very liberal person, and he's a man that doesn't believe in stopping crime. He's a man that doesn't think that we should be toying with a country that wants a nuclear weapon so they can blow up the world. No, I'm not a fan of Pope Leo.
Okay. You're going to pick the fight with the Pope, my guy. That's all you. Go ahead. You can pick the fight with the Pope if you want. Knock yourself out. It's all good. Good morning, Rent Man. How are you today?
How are you doing, my friend?
Fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
You know who is it Paula White, the spiritual advisor to Trump?
Paula Kane. Mm-hmm. Where'd you go? We lost you.
And I don't know if you can find a more overt example of heresy and corruption, because this all ties together. He has so little disregard and knowledge of anything other than himself. To hear him talk about any spiritual person, legitimate spiritual person, including the Pope, just shows he knows nothing about the Pope. He knows nothing about Catholicism. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. And it's, you don't have to be a evangelical Christian. You don't have to be a Catholic. We just have this ability to discern crazy and narcissists and evil. And this guy encapsulates all of that. I'm not surprised at all. This is who he's always been. This is who he was since he was a child. He's always been this way. And the only difference is that we're now seeing him completely unhinged and with no guardrails. So, it's just the shit show is going to continue until the guy is removed from office. That's really the game plan here. He's either going to get removed or this is just going to get worse. It's pathetically sad.
Yeah, I mean, I think Democrats in the House now have been requesting that there be a cognitive exam taken. I think it's posturing. I think it's ridiculous. Even if he does, there's HIPAA privacy records. They're not going to get full information. To your point though, I mean, this is just fucking madness. It's heresy. Yeah. I mean, it really is. So, yep.
And if I could make one more quick point,
sure.
The other issue with, I'm from California, and I didn't really invest a lot of energy into Eric Swalwell. I mean, he seemed like a pretty feisty guy, and allegations are allegations, unproven. However, it is interesting that the timing of him just dropping out right away, and now he's leaving Congress, leads me to believe that there's still this notion, and if there's any kind of, I won't even call it credit, thing that I'll concede to Trump, is that guy is such a strong cult leader that other politicians like Swalwell, if there's any merit to what's been alleged against him, they think they can pull off.
Because we believe women.
There's
no but, man. There's no but. We believe women.
I'm not saying he's innocent.
Hold on. Words matter. We believe women. He has his right to his day in court. Okay?
Yes.
That's where it sits. But thanks for jumping in today. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Okay. My guy, you're stuck in the trap. Okay, try to learn something from these conversations because words matter. You immediately went to if the. No, we believe women. Okay, plain and fucking simple. Just please check that. Okay, thanks, appreciate it. So back to Aaron Parnas, this little clip, because this is part. I thought what I had played for you before was included this, but he names names. So this is interesting about the people in the orbit who have not yet been. Who are, how do I want to say this? Who've been sycophantic in general. So here you go.
Eruption over Trump posting himself as Jesus has reached a new boiling point as some in MAGA are demanding that Trump ask for forgiveness from the American people and from God, as some say he is possessed by a demon. I'm not making any of this up. First, you have Riley Gaines, who appears at the White House regularly, a huge MAGA supporter of the president, saying, why? Seriously, I cannot understand why he posts this. Is he looking for a response? Does he actually think this? Either way, two things are true. A little humility would serve him well. God shall not be mocked. Here's another Republican conservative. I don't know if the president thought he was being funny or if he is under the influence of some substance or what possible explanation he could have for this outrageous blasphemy, but needs to take this down and ask for forgiveness from the American people and then from God. Another one, I genuinely believe Trump is currently demon-possessed. I have never seen this type of vitriol for the president of the United States since he took office again. Something is changing. We'll see what happens. Spread the word. Subscribe to my Substack. Link in bio to support. Follow.
Like, he's right. I mean, for people that are in the circle so tight, the fact that they're coming out and saying this is sacrilegious. I mean, some of them are just, this is like end of times for them. Got some amazing little sort of a compilation that I put together for you guys, but I'm going to play you this sound from J.D. Vance first because he was questioned. And I want you to listen to how J.D. Vance answers this question. Not the president made a mistake, not that he should have acknowledged that, not that he should have apologized, because in the patriarchy, especially with these weak ass beta fucking bitch males who on their best day are mediocre, will never take accountability, will never ever admit that they're wrong about anything. Plain and simple. This is J.D. Vance, actually, after his failed endeavor, going overseas to try to get a ceasefire, and here he is.
Expressed problems with the war in Iran, says that we should be peacemakers, been very vocal. The president took to Truth Social saying Leo should be thankful because, as everyone knows, he was a shocking surprise. He wasn't on any list to be pope, was only put there because of the church, because he was an American. They thought he would be good, best way to deal with President Donald J. Trump. If I wasn't in the White House, Leo wouldn't be in the Vatican. Just wondering, as a Catholic, how you consider this Truth Social post, and then
keep this in mind. J.D. Vance couch fucker is a Catholic. Okay? He is a Catholic, right? Just keep that in mind when you hear this answer.
The post of the picture, which a lot of people took as the president posting a picture of himself as Jesus. He later said that he posted it as thinking as a doctor saving people.
I thought it was me as a doctor, and had to do with Red Cross as a Red Cross worker there, which we support. And only the fake news could come up with that one.
But it really caused a kerfuffle, Mr. Vice President. I'm just wondering.
First of all, Brett, kerfuffle? My guy, listen, we understand the demographic of your base might skew on the older side, but even boomers are like, kerfuffle? What the fuck is that?
And what you make of all of this, and whether it's what you think of this back and forth with the church.
Well, first of all, Brett, I think the president was posting a joke, and of course he took it down because he recognized that a lot of people weren't understanding.
Okay. That part right there, because not that a lot of people were offended, JD. Not that a lot of people were offended. They just didn't understand the joke. Got it. Oh, sorry, this restarted. Hang on. Well, here you go again.
With the war in Iran, says that we should be peacemakers, been very vocal. The president took to Truth Social saying Leo should be thankful because, as everyone knows, he was a shocking surprise. He wasn't on any list to be Pope, was only put there because the church, because he was an American, they thought he would be good, best way to deal with President Donald J. Trump. If I wasn't in the White House, Leo wouldn't be in the Vatican. Just wondering, as a Catholic, how you consider this Truth Social post, and then the post of the picture, which a lot of people took as the president posting a picture of himself as Jesus. He later said that he posted it as thinking as a doctor saving people.
I thought it was me as a doctor, and had to do with Red Cross as a Red Cross worker there, which we support. And only the fake news could come up with that one.
But it really caused a kerfuffle, Mr. Vice President. I'm just wondering what you make of all of this, and whether it's what you think of this back.
Golly gee whiz, Grandma. The president started a kerfuffle.
And forth with the church.
Well, first of all, Brett, I think the president was posting a joke, and of course he took it down because he recognized that a lot of people weren't understanding his humor in that case. I think the president of the United States likes to mix it up on social media, and I actually think that's one of the good things about this president is that he's not filtered. He doesn't send everything.
It's almost like, gee, Ward, you were awful hard on the beaver last night.
Through a communications professional, he actually reaches out directly to the people. You know, when it comes to the disagreements with the Vatican, look, we're going to have disagreements, Brett, from time to time. I think it's a good thing, actually, that the Pope is advocating for the things that he cares about. But we're always going to have disagreements on matters of public policy, or I should say, sometimes we're going to have disagreements on matters of public policy. The Pope has been critical of our immigration policy, but ultimately the immigration policy of the United States is set by Donald Trump. The Pope is going to have disagreements on other issues. We can respect the Pope. We certainly have a good relationship with the Vatican, but we're also going to disagree on substantive questions from time to time. I think that's a total.
So, okay. That's fine. Nothing to see here. It's nothing to see here. Let's just gaslight the American public a little bit more. Okay, Direct, how are you this morning?
Hey, not too bad. How about yourself, sir?
Fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
So, like, the way I'm seeing it is like the Democrats have kind of like held back for a while and have just really been sitting on their hands while the MAGA Republicans have just been wreaking terror. And, you know, with Trump, just as you said, there is no guardrails for him whatsoever. And I think the reason why they're doing that is because they're just waiting on the midterms. Because I mean, the Democrats are just waiting for the midterms, because as we've seen in every other election or special election so far, Democrats have polled higher and higher and higher each and every time. People are sick and tired of how the MAGA Republicans are handling the situation. They're sick and tired of how this president is doing it. And
I don't entirely agree. I don't entirely agree that the Democrats are just sitting on their hands. They hold no power. We have to be honest about that. They hold no power.
Unfortunately,
you know,
you are correct in that manner. They have no power.
So you know,
they have no leverage.
So they use leverage with the shutdown to try to force the Republicans' hand to try to offer a healthcare solution, which they ended up winning the messaging argument on. Similarly, with not wanting to continue to fund ICE, but yet introducing separate bills to fund the TSA. So those are things that they're doing now. I don't agree that they're necessarily waiting for the midterms. I wish their messaging was better as we head towards the midterms, but I don't think they're waiting for the midterms. So anyway, you can continue.
But no, the way things are going, and I mean the level of escalation, and there isn't like, I come from a background where there's a lot of work with de-escalation and the tactics of de-escalation, and there is none here. Like, I mean, for the lack of a better way of putting it, the United States has turned into the villain. He's turned us into the villain.
Oh, no doubt. Well, we've been a villain for a very long. We've been a villain for a very long time, for sure.
You know, and not to gloat, but as a veteran, I find that humiliating to a degree that I can't even describe to you. That we are the villain, and I'm really hoping that something or someone will do something that'll just reel this guy in or get him out sooner if possible, because I really don't know how much more the United States can take.
We will find out. Thanks for jumping in today, and thank you for your service. I appreciate you. Have a good day. Be safe out there.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily agree with the whole sitting on hands. There's only so much you can do in our system when you're the minority party. You don't control the agenda. You don't control committees. You don't control any of this. You can introduce articles of impeachment, sure. You can demand votes. You can request censure. You can request expulsion. You can expulsion, sure. I just made up a word. I guess we'll see. It's always hard to predict the outcome of midterms, but like I said to start the show, it's not like the Democrats' message is fantastic. It's just the Republicans just suck really bad. Hi, Tammy. How are you? Tammy, are you there? Tammy? The progressive in your pocket. I won't do it. Not going to do it. She fell asleep to me? Okay. Good morning, Jesse. How are you today?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
I just called to get in on the conversation a little bit, just kind of looking at this picture everybody's talking about so much.
Yeah, it's kind of rough, right? Why don't Trump take it down?
I don't know. I'm not in charge of what he does.
It's not what I asked. I'm just, why do you think he took it down?
How can I tell you what somebody thinks? I don't understand that.
I'm asking you what you think. I'm asking you what you think. Okay. No, bro,
I didn't know he took it down. I'm just scrolling through this and
I'm asking you. Did
he take it down?
Man, he did. Why do you think he took it down? Yes, he did.
Oh my goodness. Why do you think he took it down?
Well, I asked you, sir. So maybe you can answer
the question.
I
don't know. I never gave it much thought because I'm looking at it. I did not know.
You don't think it's offensive?
Offensive for what?
Are you a Christian?
That's what I'm trying to find out. What's the big hubbub about this picture? Maybe it offends you, so tell me why it offends you.
Doesn't offend me. Are you a Christian?
What are you talking about then? Why did he take it down?
Are you a Christian, sir?
I think he likes to play games with demons, and he's doing a hell of a job when you think about it.
Are you, sir?
Do you believe that? Do you believe that?
Sir,
do you believe he likes to? He gets up every day and goes, "Let me play with some more demons." Watch this. What do you think about the? Remember when he did that thing with Obama and all them being the monkeys and the little airplanes flying around, dropping all the poop on top of people, and you all go.
Trump was a racist.
You go crazy. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I had to mute you, sir. So Trump depicting himself as a racist. It's a simple question. Are you a Christian, sir?
It doesn't matter what I am. I'm looking at the picture and I'm laughing.
I'm asking you.
You don't see the humor in that?
Are you?
Did you lose your? Because of the TDS you have no sense of comedy. You forget about what's funny.
Gotcha. Can you do me a favor, friend? I have one quick question to ask you. Can you tell me what you had for
breakfast
today?
You can ask the question. Go ahead.
Okay. What'd you have for breakfast today?
You got to be kidding me, right?
Nobody fucking cares, bro. You want to try to engage on a topic. It's just really simple. Just ask a question. I'm not offended by it because I'm not a Christian. So the question though becomes if you're a Christian, and are you offended by it? Because if you're a Christian and you're not offended by this, then I don't think you're a Christian, or at least you're not really being a good Christian. You're not being a responsible one, because people in your community are calling it sacrilegious and heresy. But that's fine. Maybe go back and have some more Mapo. Hello, Melissa. How are you today? Melissa? Are you there? Hello? Who's calling? Okay, thank you. What's going on today? Is Mercury in retrograde? What the fuck's happening? I don't know. What's going on? Twiz, how are you today?
I'm great. Good morning. How are you?
Fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
Super happy to be here. I listen to you every day. Thanks for doing what you do.
Thanks.
The question that keeps popping into my head is, Trump's a lunatic, and we know this, all the stupid stuff that he does. But say the 25th gets invoked. What kind of damage is Vance going to do? Because Trump's going to do this dumb stuff, which hurts us visibly, but they can do real damage, lasting Gilead type damage long term.
Yeah, I mean, I've been asked that question, and to be honest, it's the fact that Donald Trump is deranged. I mean, J.D. Vance wants power. Okay, he wants power, and he knows that if he continues to, if he is, as long as he is connected to this ticket, he doesn't have a political future. He just doesn't. He's wildly unpopular. So the only hope that he has is to try to formulate his own agenda. So I think to the advantage of him is potentially a better outcome for Americans. Not that he's going to reverse rights, not that he's going to make lives better for the American public. It just won't be this fucking chaos. It won't be memes. It won't be DoorDash stunts outside the Oval Office. It won't be threatening the Pope, shit like that. At least that's what from a political science perspective, that's kind of how I look at it. He's a snake. He's an opportunist, but I don't think he's as dangerous because of this guy's declining mental capacities.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, I look at DoorDash and embarrassing for us,
Yeah.
but then I look at, an AB ban nationwide from Peter Thiel. Then you get that agenda, and they're going to be smart about it. That's just my my question.
You mean I don't disagree. It's going to take a little bit more than just J.D. Vance, right? It's going to take Congress, which is, don't forget the midterms are coming. So I hear what you're saying, but it's a cautionary tale. We all need to keep our minds and our eyes open on this. But our president is literally a malignant narcissist who's in declining health, who's on the edge of full-scale dementia and does shit like this. So we have to get him out of office. But thanks for jumping in today, friend. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Be safe out there. You got it. All right. Okay, let me do this. See more people have requested. Got a lot of folks in the chat today. I'll see if I may not get to everybody, but I'll do it again. I've got a bunch of other stuff I want to connect because there's more related to this story that we haven't unpacked yet. Recovering Catholic. Hey, Rusty.
You need to take it back.
I'll take it back.
You broke my brain. When you told that guy to go have his Mapo.
Oh, sorry.
You rat bastard.
Yeah, I was thinking after I said that, it's funny. Like, do people even know what the fuck I'm talking about? And lo and behold, I manifest you.
Yeah, those of us who have made way too many trips around the sun, yes. Knockoff cream of wheat, yes. I remember what Mapo was. Might as well have gone to an ether frolic and maybe had a sarsaparilla somewhere. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's like Mapo is like the worst oatmeal you could ever have in your life. I don't know how else to describe it other than that. Flavorless, bland, no character. In other words, a MAGA Republican.
MAGA. There we go.
Yeah.
Oh, I am enjoying watching the descent and that your background. Why is this any worse than him riding a velociraptor dressed as Rambo, firing off a couple of rounds with a machine pew pew? I mean,
because that's cool. That's man shit, Rusty.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, okay, they're equal levels of ridiculous that you window lickers just eat up. Ugh.
Yeah. I think the bigger issue with this one, though, is the division that he's gotten from his supporters. Many of them are just what the fuck? What the fuck are you doing, bro? What are you doing? And
I thought I was a doctor. No, dude. I don't remember doctors having glowy hands and healing by touching the. God, he's such a okay. I could do 10 minutes. I'm not going to do that.
I know. But there will be people that will try to defend it. There will be people to say that he was just joking. Well, he also offended millions of people. And why did he take it down?
Not just millions of people, millions of his own people.
Correct.
And I'm the first guy to say there is no such thing as a topic that can't be joked about. It all depends on how you construct the joke. That's the nature of humor.
True. That's true.
He can't tell a joke to save his life.
No.
You don't understand his sense of humor because he doesn't have one. He ridicules. He ridicules for the sake of ridicule. He doesn't ridicule for the sake of satire. And let's put
it this way. He's no Tom D'Addario or other legendary comics.
No.
Who hit the boards, as they say.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's if a comedian isn't offending someone, they're not necessarily doing their job. I will grant you that. But when the offense is the point, that's where you start, running into walls. Where it's, I'm going to ridicule this group because I just want to.
It depends. I mean, there is a line there. I would agree. I mean, generally speaking, I think comedians have always served a purpose, whether it be Lenny Bruce and or others. They've always been able to call out what we all see and do it in ways that many of us can't. There are lines. There are certainly lines. There are some comics, so I think they feel like they take things way too far. So it's not everything. Funny is subjective, and I don't always agree with everything that I hear from some comics, but they serve a purpose. Yeah,
comics, comedians, satire have always been the reflection, and there is no such thing as a victimless joke. You poke fun at something or at someone for what they have done, what they are, whatever. That is the nature of humor. Humor is laughing at tragedy. It all depends on the degree of tragedy and how you construct the joke as to whether or not somebody can laugh and go, I get that, or, oh my God, you're offensive. He has no concept how to construct a joke. And then it just becomes ridicule.
True.
So
yeah, I mean, we'll see. I'm just watching the internal reaction has been wild. So guess we'll see where it goes.
I know. Been a joy.
Thanks for jumping in, bro. I appreciate you.
You got it, buddy.
Be safe out there.
Later.
Have a good day. Take care. It's Rusty's right. The fact that there's just if this is an attempt at humor, I don't think it is. I mean, it's not an attempt at humor. This is how he sees himself, and this goes back. It's not the first time that he's done this after Pope Francis. It was him depicting himself as the Pope again with the Pope cap. What did I call it? The papal capel? Yeah, the papal cap, right? So it's a really interesting phenomenon. There's a few more things that I wanted to play on this particular topic because I think it's necessary again as we see the world, the people in his orbit. So this is Lindsey Graham. Lindsey, I don't know which way. I was going to say which way Lindsey swings. I think we all know that, which is fine. I don't know his religious background, but again, he's being pressed, and here's how they answer.
People of faith, there's a lot of people of faith that you represent, a lot of people across South Carolina and the region. In the last 24 hours or so, the president posted some comments and images related to the Pope, related to one image that looked like where he was kind of almost like a Jesus figure. I'm wondering if you've seen those and what's your reaction to them?
Well, as to the Pope, and the Holy Father's entitled to his opinion, but I don't like what the Pope is saying in this regard. I think the Pope misses the evil nature of the regime. You know, in the 30s, the Catholic Church did not quite get Hitler. So there are just causes. I think it's a just cause to keep the most radical regime in the world, the Iran regime, religious Nazis, from getting a nuclear weapon. And Pope, they're not going to give up their weapons because you're nice to them. They have enough uranium. They were cheating to build 8 or 10 bombs, and we stopped them in the nick of time. So to the Holy Father, you got to understand, when it comes to evil, like religious Nazis, the Iranians, and the original Nazis, you got to have moral clarity. Let me tell you right now, I think the moral, clear position is to stand up to this terrorist regime who's been terrorizing the world, dripping in American blood, kill 45,000 of their own citizens for demanding a better life, took a 16-year-old girl off the bus and beat her to death because she didn't wear a headscarf. So I think the Holy Father is missing the nature of this conflict and why we have to do it. And I think it probably encourages the Iranians. This is not a war of choice. This is war of necessity. We had a chance in the 30s to stop Hitler before he got strong, and we failed. Let's don't fail again.
Jesus. Literally. It's almost like he's making his own little mulligatawny of rhetoric, throwing a bunch of shit in. Like, you got, your power goes out, or, whatever, you want to get rid of some leftovers, you throw it all in a big fucking pot and you cook it up and you call it kitchen sink soup or whatever. That's what he's doing. He's blending all kinds of fucking shit to try to justify this. Lindsay, listen, you can do no wrong in the president's eyes. Now, unless he's got a lot of fucking dirt on you, bro, you could just come out and say, the president probably shouldn't have done that. Probably not a good idea to pick a fight with the Pope. Couldn't do that, though. Nope, just going to have to double down really fucking hard. Really, really fucking hard. So this goes back to this next bit of sound I'm going to play for you guys. Tells us kind of everything we need to know about this this president. There was a famous point leading up to his first election in 2016. He sat down with a couple of journalists and was asked a very direct question. You may remember this.
Bible, you've been talking about how it's your favorite book, and you said, I think last night in Iowa, some people are surprised that you say that. I'm wondering what one or two of your most favorite Bible verses are, and why.
I wouldn't want to get into it because to me that's very personal. When I talk about the Bible, it's very personal, so I don't want to get into verses. I don't want to get into.
There's no verse that means a lot to you that you think about or cite.
The Bible means a lot to me, but I don't want to get into specifics.
Even to cite a verse that you like.
No, I don't want to do that.
You're an Old Testament guy or a New Testament guy?
Probably equal. I think it's just an incredible. The whole Bible is an incredible. I joke. Very much so. They always hold up the Art of the Deal. I say my second favorite book of all time. But I just think the Bible is just something very special.
Equal. Would you rather get throat punched or kneed in the dick? Equal. And don't forget that famous moment on Lafayette Square when he couldn't stand the fact that people were protesting, and he had his military brass and leadership in his administration fire rubber bullets at the legs of protesters to clear them out of Lafayette Square so he could take a picture with the Bible that he held upside down. Yeah, that's fine. Nothing to see here. I think there's one more little bit of sound. I think I played that one for you. Oh, no, I got a whole bunch of shit. Hold on a second. Everyone keep tapping, please. Actually, let me take a little detour real quick and just thank a few people for helping us out here. Don't forget the Dollar Train has been activated. If you want to support the channel, you can do so at Factsstillmatter, Cash App, PayPal, Venmo. Want to thank, Tina, thank you. Tina started the $2 train. Thanks for being a good human, Steve. Thank you. I appreciate you very much, friend. That's very kind of you. Also, thank you to Kelly for the Do Something tour. Thank you for your 20 on the Blue app, Kelly. That's very kind of you. Thank you so much. Laverne, thank you very much. Amy, thank you very much. You guys are so sweet, helping us. We got a lot of work to do. We appreciate you guys very much for all your support. Over on the green, thank you to Marcus for your $2. Thank you so very, very much. Also, thank you to oh, Maureen, thank you. It's very kind of you for your donation. And Trixie, thank you very, very much. You guys are kind. Appreciate you very much. Got some more folks in the box. Bring some more people up. Everybody keep tapping, please. 2,000 people in here. Literally, if we did the $1 day, we could bang out like a whole big chunk of our donation goal. But thank you. Good morning, Nick. How are you today?
I am fantastic. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. You know, I'm feeling blessed by the physician that is the president.
I see. He has bestowed favor upon you today. I see this.
He has. Yes, he has. He has indeed. Yes.
All right. So I'm actually here today with an invitation. You've been the one we've been holding out on. So we have this spot saved just for you. Hopefully you will accept. I'm sure you've noticed, we have number one, an intelligent group on this side of Polititalk. We also have a very discerning group, and they think that you are quite a handsome gentleman, and I would have to agree. And I have decided to make a calendar, and it will be the men of Polititalk, and it'll be our side of Polititalk. And what we will do is, again, I have a list. I have put my invitations out, and I would like to feature you, if you would, on one of the months. And once the calendar, the proceeds from the calendar, as a group of creators, you can come together and decide, would you like to put, all the proceeds in one direction, or we can split them up into 12, sections, and you each decide. Because I know that we very much want to make sure that you get everything you need for your tour, and would be extremely honored to have you appear. Yes, Silver Fox. This is what I keep hearing. We need our Silver Fox.
I don't know how I can say no. So thank you.
Thank you
very much. I appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm just watching the chat, and we've had an amazing response so far from fans, followers, friends in the chat, and you have been constant in the comments that get Steve. You were already on my list, but yeah. So we're going to do this, and if you have a photo that you would like to submit, you can do that. We also have had a number of amazing followers come forward and say, I'm a photographer and I will go to them. I will come and do a photo shoot. And it can be spicy, it can be bland, it can be anything in between. Whatever you please. We just want to feature you and just do the best we can. And you know what? Give the people what they want in the end.
Thank you. I'm incredibly flattered. I'm not used to this kind of stuff, as you guys know. It's uncomfortable, but I appreciate that. That's okay. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. We can chat. We can chat offline.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would be great. And
I appreciate that very much.
I'm going to put one more thing out to the chat today. Something that we've kind of been doing is, if you have just any idea or request, or, for Steve, for his photo shoot, things that you would like to see, any ideas, send that in the dollar train through his pay links and give him those ideas. And you never know. Maybe it'll pop up. Maybe it'll be something that just hits right.
Let's hope it doesn't pop up. Oh, sorry, I couldn't resist. I needed to change the conversation real quick to get myself out of there.
As soon as I said it, my child brain just went, oh, that's what she said.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
That.
We'll talk.
That's very kind. Thanks. Just message me on Discord and we can figure something out. Thank you very much.
I'm so happy. Thank you so much.
You got it. Have a good day. Be safe out there. Thanks a lot. All right, bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Can we get back to the news? I have to just make sure I have to check in here with I'm about to get lit up in the mod chat. I have a feeling. Okay. Okay. Anyway. Everybody keep tapping, please. Appreciate you guys very much. Hi, Dan. How are you today?
That me?
Yeah, that's you.
You weren't in my pocket, bud.
Okay. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate you very much. Have a good day. Be safe out there. Real quick, let me just thank a couple people. All right. Thank you to Kimberly. Thank you to Savage. I'll get back to those in just a second. All right. A few other people in here today. Mr. Marco. Good morning. How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing okay, my man. How you feeling today?
I'm all right. Thanks. What's going on? What's on your mind?
Hey, man. It's two things that's in my mind. Am I the only person that feels like this government is like watching a TV show, like a reality TV show on a daily basis, like that just keep coming on your TV nonstop?
Well, reality shows are staged, and we're going to get into that. This is real life.
Right. I mean, yes, it's real life, but I feel like this toddler that we have in power does not take anything serious. Not only that, he's not taking anything serious, but like, how did we get here? Like, did we not see the red flags from the first term of this guy? I mean, come on, Project 2025. Do anybody take time anymore? Well, especially those MAGAs, those lunatic MAGAs. Do they take time to read through those policies? And another thing too, Steve, what hurts me the most is especially Black people who support this government. And yet they cannot name any policy that this man created that benefits them as Black people. And I'm sorry, I'm Haitian, okay? I was born and raised in Haiti, moved to the country since 2006. I've been here, but I have never seen us look so stupid the way we are in the face of the world. Like, seriously, we look so low only because of a bad decision which we made, just in a sense of hatred. I don't know, Steve. It's sad. It's sad to see. And we only going to get deeper into this shit. And I don't think it's going to take a lot to get us out of this bullshit.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what I wanted to say. That's all I wanted to say. I just feel bad. It sucks.
It does. I mean, I think people are continually being harmed. And as we discuss in this space often, it's how and why people making particular choices for reasons that they don't know. But more importantly, it's the argument of not voting against your best interest, but you don't stand for anything. So you're just being told to follow what, and that's the worst part. That's the worst part. But thanks for jumping in today. I appreciate it.
And also, Steve, one more thing, Steve. Sorry. I feel like he's doing everything just to kind of like, shift our focus from the Epstein file too. Because if you think about it, every time the Epstein file tends to come back around, he come up with some bullshit just so he could get all the focus away from the Epstein file. And again, Steve, thank you for letting me into your panel. I appreciate it. And you and your viewers have a wonderful day. Okay.
You too. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you very much. That's very kind. Okay. A couple other folks have requested. Actually, I want to shift gears a little bit. We'll get back to this topic about how actions have consequences. As we learned this morning, in case you're just joining us, Eric Swalwell has announced his no longer running for the governorship, but he's also stepping down from Congress, as is Tony Gonzalez. Likely to see a whole much more movement. Likely to see like a lot of movement connected to this. We'll see how it goes. But I've got an interesting little sound that I want to play for you. This has to do with election interference in the state of Indiana. So if you're watching, thank you for sharing this cookie. This is election interference at the highest levels, now infiltrating state houses. So this is about 8 minutes long, or it's about 10 minutes long, but it's worth a listen to because these are the things that are happening. We talk about the SAVE Act a lot, obviously, and that's the federal elections, but there's all kinds of shenanigans happening in state houses across the country and state legislative bodies across the country because the president is still attempting to try to manipulate voters. So here you go. Here we go.
The depths of Donald Trump's irrational pettiness have been exposed by one of his own loyal supporters.
If the president wanted you to stand down in this race and, see if there's something else that we could be helpful with, is that...
I'll be honest with you.
That's something you wouldn't entertain.
That is a conversation between James Blair, the deputy White House chief of staff, and Alexandra Wilson, a candidate running in the Republican primary for an Indiana state Senate seat. Why in the hell is the president of the United States having senior members of his administration meddle in a state Senate primary? Revenge. We are going to listen to more of the audio that Wilson captured and released that shows Trump is not only desperately trying to micromanage Indiana, but other states as well. Subscribe to Really American because we are committed to shining a light on these underreported stories that Trump would definitely prefer stayed in the dark. And the person we can thank for shining a light on this particular story is Trump supporter and Republican primary candidate Alexandra Wilson. She is seeking to represent Indiana's 38th state Senate district. And this story is bananas. Bananas. And I have been reading all about it from longtime Indiana political junkie Abdul Hakim Shabazz in Indy Politics. This story came out yesterday on Friday, and it is perfectly titled, "Everybody Had Alexandra's Number," because it really seems like everybody did. Not only was she receiving phone calls from Blair, the deputy White House chief of staff, she also received calls from Matt Brousseau, the White House political director. Although she remains committed to supporting the president, Wilson explained why she released this audio of those conversations in a statement that reads in part, "Instead of considering the merits of my candidacy, the White House and Indiana leaders have spent countless hours trying to push me aside, including offers of potential employment in taxpayer-funded roles in exchange for my leaving the race." She added, "They crossed a line, and Hoosiers deserve to know that." I mean, we already know that, right? These friggin' yahoos are crossing the line every day. And let's hear how one of those conversations between Blair and Wilson began.
This is James Blair. I'm en route to Germany with the Secretary of State, so I'm midair. Sorry about that.
Oh, it's okay.
James Blair, deputy chief of staff at the White House, while flying to Germany with Marco Rubio for the Munich Security Conference in mid-February, made sure he made this particular phone call, encouraging Wilson to drop out of the race by making her this offer.
From what I got entertained with so far, I'm not sure that there's anything that you could bring.
Well, I don't even know what that is, to be honest with you. I know some members of my lower level staff have talked to you. I've heard other people have talked to you.
I've gotten boards and commissions brought up. I've gotten a state admin job where I would be making a fraction of what I make. And to be honest with you, no job security there. It's not something that, and my husband and I spoke about it. I'm pregnant and it's not something, a change like that is not something I'm interested in, starting a new career like that. So I want to
Is there something you are interested in, or that means you're not interested in anything?
No, I'm much more interested in the Senate position.
When it was clear Wilson was not going to accept their bribe of another opportunity if she ended her candidacy, Blair tried another tactic, bringing up her 2010 criminal conviction.
Hey, everybody. It's Mark Kelly, and I'm here in Atlanta, Georgia.
Sorry, Mark.
I don't think it's going to come up. I don't.
It'll come up. I mean, Greg Good is definitely playing for keeps. It'll for sure come up.
Okay.
I mean, I know.
Keep in mind, this is a MAGA Republican getting pressure from the White House. This is how far this has gone. Okay? This is how desperate they are to try to make sure that they've got fucking loyalists everywhere. This is maddening.
I know this because this is already being said about you in the national press. I've already gotten calls from national press reporters saying, do you know about the criminal background here? They're already doing it. That's how I even found out about it.
And what is the criminal background that they have? Because I've also been told that I filed 2 bankruptcies that I did not file.
I don't know what the criminal background they have is. What I have seen is a felony arrest pled down to a misdemeanor in like 2010 for resisting arrest.
Okay.
Is that wrong?
No, that is correct. I was a child.
Let's get this straight. Blair is calling on behalf of our criminal president, convicted of 34 felonies, to bully Wilson about her one and only criminal conviction that happened when she was 19 years old. Wilson is now 34, and unlike the president, she took responsibility for what she did, saying that she made a bad choice, and she accepted the consequences as a result of that bad choice, like a grown-up.
Yes, somebody just said this, chat. It's not bullying, it's fucking extortion. Let's call it what it is, right? It's full-on extortion.
And for his part, White House political director Matt Brousseau made sure to explain why this is so important to the president.
It's become a very personal issue to the president and how he is navigating it. So there's two different places here, right? That's your position where you are concentrated on kind of the local issues and maybe the tax code or kind of what the decisions are being made at the city county level, right? As far as the president looks at it, it is there's a group of individuals that stopped me from having a potential or having a greater potential of protecting the United States House of Representatives in the majority. And I think that he views that as like I am interested in identifying ways that I can move forward with my agenda for 4 years as opposed to 2. That is how he looks at it, right? Mm-hmm. He's not afraid of impeachment. He's not afraid. He's already gone through all of that. It's more of a what can I do to positively impact and positively affect the people of the United States of America, and this is one way that I can do that, right?
This is personal for Trump because he wants revenge against those senators who blocked his attempt to rig Indiana's congressional maps that would have disenfranchised the roughly 45% of Hoosiers who vote for Democrats. And one of those senators that defied him is Greg Good.
A state senator, the victim of a swatting incident. And it comes just hours after President Trump called him out on social media for not pursuing redistricting. So State Senator Greg Good represents Indiana's 38th district, covering Vigo, Clay, and parts of Sullivan County. Just before 8 o'clock tonight, he shared this post on social media. He said Vigo County Sheriff's deputies were called to his home for a domestic violence emergency that wasn't real. Police confirming it was a fake email prank called swatting. Now, earlier today, Good was mentioned by name in a post from President Trump. The president telling him and Indiana Senate President Rod Bray to, quote, do their job and do it now.
So, Trump wants Greg Good out. Alexandra Wilson is a supporter of Trump. So what is the problem here? The problem is Trump has already endorsed another candidate for the primary to challenge Greg Good, Brenda Wilson. No relation to Alexandra Wilson.
Pragmatically, politically, I think two people with the same last name, first one on the ballot, is a challenge. I think that gives the edge to Greg Good to win, which is, that's doesn't help my purposes, obviously, and you and I have different purposes.
Alexandra says her purpose is not to be disrespectful to the president, but she just wants to do what is best for the people of District 38. And she also said that Trump endorsing Brenda Wilson was the wrong choice. The Trump administration's tactics are not limited to phone calls. They also launched an attempt to make Alexandra ineligible to be on the ballot based on that 2010 conviction that I mentioned earlier. It's illegal to run for office if you are a felon in Indiana. What a novel idea. But Alexandra Wilson is not a felon. Right. She pled guilty to a misdemeanor back in 2010, and she remains on the ballot despite challenges because the 4-member panel on the Indiana Election Commission keeps tying when they vote. They keep voting 2-2. 2 to kick her off the ballot, 2 to keep her on. And the 2 votes that keep being cast that are keeping Wilson's candidacy alive are coming from Democrats. What's happening to Wilson is not a one-off. While pressuring her to take a job that the Trump administration would offer so she would drop out of the race, Berceau revealed that this meddling is happening in other places too.
The last time that I did this, there was another candidate in a race in Kentucky, and he is now, the individual did step out of the race. He is now the chief medical officer for one of the agencies. He's a doctor, but he's now chief medical officer for one of the agencies. So I say that to say that you have my word that I would like to find a pathway to where we can kind of kill two birds with one stone here.
This is a deliberate strategy Trump is deploying. And just yesterday, the White House announced that James Blair would be taking a leave of absence from his deputy chief of staff position to run Trump's midterm operations around the country. And also so he can likely keep bullying local candidates to drop out of their races to please the president. We are going to be keeping an eye on this.
It's mind-boggling to me, and that's, again, thank you for Cookie for posting that in the chat. It's one of these things that we don't discuss enough. It takes journalists like this, Karine Strait, to call attention to it because there's so much going on. This is literally the fire hose of disinformation, right? Here we are, and we've got infighting within the party. We've got pressure to pass the SAVE Act federally. We got the SAVE Act being deemed unconstitutional in Florida. We've got all these kinds of things happening, and then we get these pressure internally with people who apparently align, but they may not be doing your bidding. It's extortion, it's fucking blackmail, it's bribery, it's just criminality. That's what this entire administration is based in. Actions have consequence. Weaponizing the power of the federal government to influence elections in state houses. I'll play some sound in a little bit from James Lankford, right? Because he talks about, the argument that the Democrats are making is, I'll play it in just a minute. I want to shift gears just a little bit to this, the situation with, it's another story that's horrible. Rachel Maddow reported on this about a family doing things the right way, right? Here you go.
There's a brigade at Fort Polk, Louisiana that is getting ready to deploy. They're just about to start their last pre-deployment training before shipping out. Staff Sergeant Matthew Blank is part of that brigade. He's 23 years old, but he's already a staff sergeant. He enlisted at 18. He's been in the military for 5 years. He's already had deployments to the Middle East and Europe. Before this next deployment, happily, this past month, Staff Sergeant Blank got married. Big wedding in Texas. Very, very happy couple. Looking forward to starting a family together. Last week, he and his wife had their appointment at Fort Polk to get their married housing, get her military spouse ID. Instead, when they showed up at Fort Polk to register to get her military ID, ICE agents handcuffed her and took her to an immigrant prison. She has no criminal record of any kind. She was born abroad. She has lived here since she was a toddler. She teaches Sunday school. She's a few months from finishing her bachelor's degree in biochemistry. She is happily newly married to not only a U.S. citizen, but an active duty U.S. Army Staff Sergeant who is about to deploy. And how did he spend this weekend? He spent this weekend at the barbed wire gates of the Trump immigrant prison where they have now locked up his wife. Because, you know, they're going after the worst of the worst. This is the one thing the U.S. government is still even trying to do, right? And this comes after the U.S. Marines had to scramble to try to undo their announcement last week that the Marines would also have ICE agents stationed at the gates of Parris Island Recruiting Depot in South Carolina, where they apparently plan to arrest family members of newly minted U.S. Marines who were graduating from Marine basic training. They were going to arrest family members of those new Marines when they showed up for graduation for their loved one getting out of Marine Corps basic training. Welcome to the United States Marine Corps. Thank you for volunteering to give up your life for this country. We are locking up your family. We're going to pick them up at graduation. They announced that ICE agents would be at the gate at Marine basic training graduation. They then had to try to walk it back. They said it was an internal communication failure. I mean, look at how they're treating deploying troops. There's a brigade at Fort Polk, Louisiana that is getting ready to deploy. They're just about to start their last pre-deployment training before shipping out. Staff Sergeant Matthew Blank is part of that brigade. He's 23 years old, but he's already a staff sergeant. He enlisted at 18. He's been in the military for 5 years. He's already had deployments to the Middle East and Europe. Before this next deployment, happily, this past month, Staff Sergeant Blank got married. Big wedding in Texas.
I hear these stories. I know, I'm sorry, it repeated, it started quickly. And it's like a military family, military wife, serving his country, doing literally everything the right way. Everything. Doing everything the right way. Heartbreaking is one thing, but it's just, I don't even know how to describe it when you hear that shit. And it's cruelty is the point. And there are people who support him who will defend it. And I don't get that part. I just don't get that part.
Hello
morning,
there.
man. How are you? How you doing?
I'm doing good. Hey, I want you to think about this for just 1 second.
Sure.
There's only one way ICE knew this was happening. Somebody had to rat that soldier's name and his wife's name out to ICE. Somebody close to him had to do that. There's no way ICE would have had this person on their radar. No way. Absolutely zero chance. That means somebody that guy's either serving with or somebody in their family did this to them. There's no way ICE would have known about this. Zero chance. It wasn't a protest. It wasn't a sweep at an employer. That means somebody close to that family ratted them out. So MAGA, if you think you're safe, I've got some news for you, boo-boo. You're not safe. Because the same people that ratted this newlywed couple out will rat you out to save their own skin. I refuse to believe that there's any intelligence in ICE that could be so specific to know that a wedding was happening between an enlisted service member and someone who's not yet a U.S. citizen. No way. Zero chance of that happening. Only because we know who's running the show. There's no one in the White House that is that smart, that is that forward thinking, that has that level of intelligence that would be required to make this happen. That's why I'm pissed off about that. Somebody ratted them out. And what we need to do is we need to ferret that person out. Because you're back.
We lost you, buddy.
Yeah, actions have consequences, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's find the rat. Let's find the rat. And let's provide those consequences, right? Because if we can't do that, then what are we doing, right? We already see with your previous example about how they're trying to tinker with folks at the state level. I don't know if ever, I'm sure most people caught it because it was pretty subtle, right? The president thinks that what happens at the state level impacts the midterms and the House or the Senate. It can't. Nothing that happens inside an individual state has zero impact on his control for his agenda. He's so stupid. It's impossible. They can't vote. They're not members of the House and they're not members of the Senate. They have no vote.
That's true, but they can change. They can influence the laws of the state as to how the states certify their elections, things like that. So there is some diabolical tendency.
But it's Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
They already tried in Indiana, including not just the one Republican they listed, but many of the Republicans in Indiana were like, "We don't want anything to do with this. This is not how we do business in Indiana," right? So, it's not even the criminality that's just so obnoxious, right? It's this overt assumption that everyone is just going to do what they want and provide the means, right? Because why should you be able to run a campaign the way you want? Why should you be able to run for office? That's no longer your right if you're in that political party. They're now telling their own political party, we're going to pick the candidates. And if you're not the one that we pick, we're going to come and bribe you to get you a job. Could you imagine the fact, first of all, kudos to her for recording this, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully it's a one-party consent state so that she doesn't get in trouble. Kudos for her staying so calm on the phone, right? I'm sure there's nothing that we would agree on. Yeah.
Gears are turning. Yeah.
In the moment, she's like, I got him. There's nothing they can do now. And by the way, the reason why he stepped down isn't to run the midterm strategy. It's because the White House knows they got caught in criminality.
Correct.
And so what you're going to see is that person will never be seen or heard from again.
Likely.
Right? So just a piece of advice for everyone. Find out what the consent laws for recording are in your state. And when you're having uncomfortable conversations, record them if you legally can. Because that's the only reason why this person is able. I don't even know when their election is. I assume it's coming up soon, right? So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. That will be one GOP race that I will probably watch, and I'll be cheering for her to win.
Well, I think Indiana is one of these bellwether states because they stood up to pressure regarding certain laws, gerrymandering. They said no. I mean, the overwhelming majority of the state. So here, maybe it's retribution. I don't know. It's just the whole thing to me. We again, legacy media not covering this shit, and thankfully to our cookie for finding it, right? You're finding the story and sharing it, so we can talk about the severity of the lengths to which they will go to interfere with elections. Our vice president travels to fucking Hungary to try to influence an election there. So
yeah. And by the way, people, I think it's time we acknowledge that his chances of ever being peered done. 2 huge political failures back to back. He's toast. He is so disliked. And then turning his back on the Pope. Let me tell you something. I obviously am not Catholic, but Pope Leo is so much more popular than Trump could ever wish to be.
Oh my God.
Pope Leo gets so many people showing up just to see him. And what I like about this Pope is that he is American. So he's had a front seat at the stupidity of Trump, right? And he's from Chicago. So naturally, there's already that Chicago-New York rivalry, right? That extends way past baseball and hot dogs and pizza.
Yeah, right.
The only thing Chicago got right is a lot of great comedians have come out of Chicago. I think what we're going to see, and I think it's going to happen, this is what I predict in the next 2 weeks. I think Leo is going to basically do what the evangelical preachers have been doing. And keep in mind, conservative Republican Catholics, these are the preachers that you decided to emulate and follow in politics. And I guarantee you, Leo is going to sever all of those ties, because now what they are doing collectively is the same things that they did in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. And that is make Catholics out to be not Christian. Because those dog whistles are really, really loud right now, right? You got to remember, evangelicals, Protestant, do not like Catholics, and they never have, right? And so it's going to be very interesting to see what we see. But I think there's going to be a seismic shift, and there's going to be a call to arms. Are you going to defend your faith, or are you going to follow a guy who claimed that he was a healing doctor while dressing up and cosplaying as Jesus? And if that were true, to your earlier point, why did he take it down? If that's what he thought, right?
Exactly. And why not just like a baseline, I understand that people were offended. We made the choice to take it down. It would have been that simple. It would have been that simple to do, and you wouldn't be getting the attention, and we likely wouldn't be talking about it like we are. But no, you couldn't do that. You couldn't do that. You just had to say it's the press. The press made it a big deal. No, the press covered the story. Your people made it a big deal because they called you fucking demonic, my guy.
Yep.
They accused you of being sacrilegious, etc., blasphemous, heresy. Jesus, it's wild.
Yeah. Anyway, also thank you for the text exchange yesterday.
Yeah, buddy. Of course, you're a good man.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. No, you are. Take your flowers.
Okay.
No, well.
Fuck you.
Okay.
I love you.
Fuck you. Get out of here. I love you too. See you later. Bye. It's true though. But Obi brings up a good point, right? It's just the funny, I'm not gonna say funny, the strange part about this little phenomenon, and that's what we'll call it. We'll call it a phenomenon, that the president makes this post, and then there's people in the party who are like, dude, this is just not a good look. You've not, oftentimes, although our one caller this morning decided to say that he's just, it's just trolling, whatever. There's not this full-throated defense. Typically speaking, these full-throated defenses are just, we always shake our heads like, what the fuck are they doing? Why are they going so deep in this particular support for him under these conditions? And here we sit now when he's got the Catholic Church pissed off at him. His own vice president is a fucking Catholic, and he's desperate to try to defend it. So, like, okay, good luck with that. I don't know. But actions have consequences, right? So we're living in the demise, the end of days for this administration. We're watching it. And of all things, for Catholics to turn on him. So I got a little bit of sound that I want to play from a couple of interviews. First of all, this is great. I found this soundbite. This is an actual C-SPAN story, but to me, it sounds like an SNL skit, or that it could be an SNL skit. Listen to this and tell me if you don't agree.
President Trump spoke to reporters outside the Oval Office after having McDonald's delivered via the online food ordering service DoorDash. He then took questions from reporters on several topics, including the ongoing conflict with Iran and a recent Truth Social post depicting himself as Jesus, which he denies, saying he thought it depicted him as a doctor.
If it wasn't fucking real life, what else would that? It literally sounds like an SNL skit. Here it is again.
President Trump spoke to reporters outside the Oval Office after having McDonald's delivered via the online food ordering service DoorDash. He then took questions from reporters on several topics, including the ongoing conflict with Iran and a recent Truth Social post depicting himself as Jesus, which he denies, saying he thought it depicted him as a doctor.
I mean, it's not fucking, it cannot be real life. You know, sure, trolling, whatever. I mean, what? Okay, here's a series of sound bites that I want to play for you guys from members of the Catholic clergy. The reason I want to play it is I think it's relevant to based on what Obi and I were just discussing and why this is the potential death knell of this administration and unexpectedly so. It gets us to this point now where I'm going to play the sound. There's a couple of 60 minutes segments for you. There's a couple other things. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Nora O'Donnell, she interviews a series of Catholic priests and cardinals, and in response to what the president had said about the Pope.
To people in the pews who say, I don't want to hear politics from my priest.
I say, fine. I want to preach the gospel. God wants us to promote peace in the world because his desire is that we be one human family.
What we're seeing as pastors is an enormous, profound level of human suffering. And that's what motivates us.
Here's some more. Hang on a second. This is another one regarding immigration.
Cardinal Tobin called Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, a lawless organization.
Cardinal, those are strong words to call ICE a lawless organization.
Yeah.
Why did you do that?
I didn't say that they were people without law, but when people act in this way, when they have to hide their identities to terrify people, when they can actually violate other guarantees of our Constitution and Bill of Rights, well, I think somebody's got to call that out, and I'm not the only one.
He's right. Again, somebody has to call it out. This is Cardinal Cherney. I'm just playing these because I think this is part of the messaging. It's simultaneously, I'm going to also share a story with you about how the Catholic Church has seen an influx in young conservatives. So where are they going? Where is their political leadership? Now, they've always claimed the claims about the Christian nation, and I'm going to get into that in just a moment, right? So here's Nora O'Donnell again. She's questioning Cardinal Czerny now.
Cardinals should be doing, sending a message.
That's what Jesus did. So that's what every Christian should do, not just cardinal.
What if it's seen as being political?
Life is political. It's not either political or not political. Right. It is political because life is political. Political is how we live together and how we face our problems together. We can't be non-political. We don't have to be partisan, but let's not get confused between partisan and political. Political means taking responsibility for our world and for its problems, especially as they affect those who are weakest. That's politics. That's politics. Everybody's responsible for that.
So how can you be political without being partisan?
Good question.
You have to make your choices, but you don't want to say, you don't want to say, well, this political party represents what the church stands for. No, the church stands for us getting involved, and some of us will express our political responsibility by being Republican, and others by being a Democrat, and others by being independent. or other options. The church's position is that we need to be responsible, act responsibly.
Has that changed in the last year? Do you see more of that?
Yes. Yes, I do see more of it.
It's the constant intertwining, right? So here's a little bit more sound for you, and then I'm going to give a shout out to Obi for calling this out. The specifics around. Hold on a second. The specifics around the veteran being contacted, right? That was fucking diabolical. That I'm not sure if it's an inside job. It questions it. But those same people are probably churchgoers. Who knows if they got ratted out by their church? I'm just offering my opinion. That's all I'm doing. Just offering my opinion. But here, this is another interesting story about a surge in Catholic Church enrollees or people that are converting. Here you go.
So far in 2026, the Catholic Church in the U.S. has welcomed the largest number of converts in recent years. In Cardinal Tobin's archdiocese, there's an all-time high of new people joining the church.
Cardinal Tobin, do you think that surge in interest and attendance has something to do with Pope Leo?
Yes, I do. I've had the privilege of working closely with 4 popes, very different people in a lot of ways, but each one in some way was the right one for that moment in time. I believe that Pope Leo is the right man at this time.
So, like, I don't get the angle here. I mean, you guys know me. I try to dissect this from a political strategy perspective. Not that this administration is necessarily strategic politically, but there's always seems to be a goal here. Like, I don't know what this goal could possibly be. You're just alienating more people. You're literally just alienating more people for what? To do what? Who do you think this is going to resonate with? I mean, you are losing voters. So we've seen a rise in conversions to the Catholic Church. Like you're losing voters. You've got an opportunity here to potentially find a new flock of voters. You're losing young Republicans. They're leaving CPAC. They're turning towards Turning Point. They're claiming old MAGA is not conservative enough and or not extreme enough. So they're adopting Groyper Groyper ideology. So what? Where do we go? Where does it go? What are you doing? You got J.D. Vance, who is a Catholic, not willing to take any kind of responsibility. And it's all part of the same. It's all part of the same group of people, right? It's the Trump in the Epstein class and everybody else that are connected to it. All these people are just running for what? You can't claim ever again to be a man of faith. You're not. You never have been. So you just swim in the fucking dirtiest water, the primordial ooze that is the deep state, and I don't know. It's weird. All right, I meant to get to this yesterday. This is little Nicky Muller, and I've played this for you guys before. He's done a 3-part series on the Paolo Zampoli situation, because that's news that broke recently with Melania's famous press conference. It's a 3-parter. He adds a little bit of, how do I want to say this? In his own particular style. He does not pull punches. It's the smoking gun that is Paolo Zamponi, Melania Trump. So I'm gonna play this for you guys now, and then we'll get to it.
That is Paolo Zampoli and Melania Trump. Paolo Zampoli, by Melania's own admission, was a massively influential part of her life. And according to her, he was close friends with Donnie and introduced the two of them. Paolo was born in Milan in 1970 to an extremely wealthy family. He was raised in a fucking castle estate, claims to be related to a pope, and was part of the upper crust of Italian society. At 18, his father died, and Paolo sold their family toy company to Silvio Silvio Berlusconi, who became a close friend of his. Silvio would eventually become prime minister before being exposed for being a PDF file. Paolo also counted John Casablancas as a mentor. John Casablancas owned Elite Model Management, was a close friend for both Donnie and Jeff, and openly dated underage models, calling them child women. Paolo was also the organizer of the Look of the Year contest in Ibiza. The one in New York saw girls taken out on a boat and forced to dance with, and in other cases, service old men. This included Donnie, who was a judge. Go look up the accounts from this if you can find them. It's truly harrowing. It is during this time he became friends with Donald Trump, who was dazzled by his connections to Italian aristocracy and his endless supply of young models. In 1995, Paolo meets Melania in Milan and recruits her, moving her into his building in New York and eventually introducing her to Trump. Around this time, he's also discovered to be using his connections to set up an extortion meeting between billionaire Ron Burkle and a gossip columnist. Burkle, a mega donor to Bill Clinton, was also close friends with Epstein, Harvey Weinstein, and fucking Diddy, all part of the fucking web of shit Paolo was deeply embedded in. Now it is 2004 and Paolo and Epstein are business partners. They attempt to buy Elite Model Management from John Casablancas. They were working extremely closely together to buy the world's most famous modeling agency. This fails, and Donnie invites Paolo into the Trump organization. He is the director of international development, selling Trump Park Avenue to what he called big money people from Russia, which is the exact time the Trump organization was involved in a Russian mafia money laundering scheme with most of its properties. He then starts a company using young models to sell real estate to old men, and he starts another company filming models in their apartments. It's weird, it fails, but it's worth noting that most of his life he uses young, attractive women and exploits them for money. And now he moves on to his next scheme, where he partners with Ghislaine Maxwell and buys himself a diplomatic title from the island nation of Dominica and becomes a UN ambassador. Continued in part 2.
Part 2. Keep in mind, the Paolo Zampoli Melania relationship has got now all twisted and connected to the Epstein files in ways that we didn't think it would because of Melania. Now, why did she come out publicly? Maybe to get out ahead of it? We don't know. But here's more of the story.
That is Paolo Zampoli and Melania Trump, Part 2. When last we left Paolo, he has purchased an ambassadorship from the small island nation of Dominica. Paolo was not a citizen of Dominica and was actually running a scheme to connect foreign American adversaries, like, for example, Iran, with the country of Dominica, to sell them passports at $220,000 apiece. He was literally facilitating crime and terrorism by using Dominican passport sales to enrich himself and allow bad actors to circumvent U.S. national sanction. But Paolo was also kind of a fucking moron. When he didn't get paid the extra $7 million in fees he believed he was owed, he sued his partners in New York and laid the entire scheme out in court documents. Like I said, he was a fucking moron. Now an ambassador at the UN, he partnered with his old friend Ghislaine Maxwell to create Terramar, a non-profit designed to create some nice-sounding bullshit community that took care of the parts of the ocean not claimed by any government. Instead, it was a shell used to remake Ghislaine's image so she could give talks and hang out with powerful people. In 7 years, it spent exactly $874 on its stated mission. Paolo and Ghislaine quickly shut it down the day that Jeff was arrested. What's also interesting is that the FBI directly investigated Terramar, but none of that information has made it into the Epstein doc releases. But it did have an unusually high expenditure on lawyers that's never been explained for a non-profit that never did a single day's worth of actual work. In 2014, his then girlfriend Amanda Ungaro also got herself a pay-for-play ambassadorship from Grenada. Remember that name. It's about to be very important. The two were a power couple, and Ungaro was Melania's best friend and confidant, and Paolo was Donnie's longtime friend, partner, sometimes employee, sometimes procurer of young ladies. Together they attended Trump's first inauguration as honored guests at Melania Trump's table during dinner. Paolo is firmly and clearly in the inner circle, and that's where it all gets much darker. Continued in.
And here's part 3. This is wild shit. It's the access. They create these access. They buy these modeling agencies. They buy these talent shows. They invest in companies that produce this. It's like the entire fucking thing is just this breeding ground for these fucking motherfucking predators. It's all connected. It is all connected. Not only is it follow the money, it's follow the cues, it's follow the subtleties in language. Here we sit, and here's the final part. This is the last piece.
That is Paolo Zampoli and Melania Trump, Part 3. Now we take a step back in time to tell you about Amanda Ungaro. At just 13 years of age, she is managed by her agent, Jean-Luc Brunel. Brunel would later die in prison while awaiting trial for crimes against minors. She is then scouted by Donald Trump's close friend, John Casablancas, who sends her to America on Epstein's plane, and where Maxwell, upon learning of her young age, was visibly excited. She arrived in New York City at 17 with no family, no legal status, no English, and no income. She was signed to ID Models, the agency founded and run by Paolo Zampoli, who had been pursuing her since she was 15. Paolo had isolated her completely and eventually forced a relationship between the two that lasted nearly 20 years. She spent those years going to galas and parties, including those pesky Diddy parties, and then in 2010 she gave birth to their son Giovanni. They attended Trump's inauguration together, and then in 2018 the well-documented Lothario and scumbag that is Paolo was caught in an affair, and Ungaro moved out with their son. They reconcile, but by 2023 Paolo, known scumbag, is caught texting with a sex worker and the marriage ends. Or did it? This is where it gets a little weird. The two were supposedly married, and then they also weren't married. This is deeply important for what happens next. In September of 2024, she files for custody of their son, including child support. Paolo is, however, plugged into the federal government during a time in which the federal government was, and still is, rife with corruption. He is the special envoy for global partnerships, has a seat on the Kennedy Center board, and is close personal friends with the President of the United States. By June, she is arrested in Miami following an anonymous tip about unlicensed cosmetic procedures at a medical spa where she worked as a receptionist. She and a doctor who is now her husband are the only people arrested, though there are dozens of people on staff. Paolo then calls ICE, who then pick her up from the Miami jail before she can post bail and detain her for 3 months while Paolo pursues custody of their son. She is deported back to Brazil, even though she is likely a U.S. citizen by marriage. By January of this year, she is talking to the Brazilian press, posting constantly on social media. She is telling her full story, and Melania, who was a witness to it all, is freaking out. At just 13, Amanda Ungaro was manipulated by multiple men, all of whom were close personal friends with Donald Trump. She was taken to America, isolated, and placed in a relationship with Paolo. And when she attempted to leave, she was punished, arrested, deported, had her child taken from her, all by exertions of power that Paolo was given by Donald Trump. This ring of abuse didn't die with Epstein. It lives on, taking up residence in the White House.
You know, oftentimes you need to kind of, I'm not going to say add levity, but the way in which little Nikki Miller, who produces these, reports on them, I think is helps for engagement. But what more do you need to know? I mean, what more do you need to know? How deep the connections are? How just absolutely, they talk about Deep Throat connected to the Watergate scandal, right? And they talk about all the whistleblowers and the people who have just been sucked into this entire world, and how those are the people that are considered the enemies, and the victims and the survivors are the ones who don't get their voice, and we get people like Eric Swalwell, mistaken judgment, and we get all that kind of shit, right? And we've got these, like I said before, these modeling events, Miss Universe, Miss Teen Universe pageants. You've got Les Wexner, and you've got the Victoria's Secret connection. You've got all these modeling events, all this shit. Literally, it's all connected. It is so fucking horrifying. And I've said before, you never. I want to be careful how I say this. It's not that we are finding, for lack of a better term, the silver lining. If there is a silver lining in any of this, is that it's being exposed. Is that it's just being exposed. You're just hearing from more and more people. You're hearing from more and more, heads of state and corporations. The only people who've not been held accountable are likely in our country, right? In particular, it starts with the president of the United States. There's no denying it. There's no denying how deep his connections are. There's no denying he's lied about it. There's no denying it. He is a twice impeached, 4-time indicted, sexually abusing fraudster, convicted felon, name on a list, predator, racist, P3DO. He's a despicable human being who will likely never be held accountable for his crimes. And by the way, on that topic, there is reporting. Hang on one second. From the Wall Street Journal, that the president is promising blanket pardons to his staff. In a recent meeting, the president said he would pardon those within 200 feet of the Oval Office, say people familiar with the remarks. President Trump has repeatedly promised top administration officials pardons before he leaves office, according to people who have heard his comments. I'll pardon everyone who has come within 200 feet of the Oval, Trump said in a recent meeting to laughs, according to people who have knowledge of the comments. That radius appears to be expanding as the president repeats the line. Another person who met with Trump earlier this year said the president quipped about pardoning anyone who had come within 10 feet. In one conversation with advisors in the dining room next to the Oval Office last year, Trump said he would host a news conference and announce mass pardons before he left office. Some of the people said. The people said that they weren't aware of specific pardons being offered to specific people for specific acts. The unconditional power to the pardon is one of the most sweeping powers offered to the presidency. This term, Trump has wielded clemency far differently than any other president, dispensing some 1,600 grants to date. Many have gone to allies and donors or those who have hired them. Coming after a social pull aside or a round of golf. Some have received bipartisan criticism, including one to top crypto billionaire like CZ, whose company boosted Trump's own digital currency platform, and another to a former Honduran president convicted of conspiring with cartels to ship cocaine to the U.S. In Trump's first term, he signed fewer than 250 pardons and commutations. I'll get back to that in just a second. With that being said, hold on. I think I still have this story. A January 6th rioter who Trump pardoned, gets prison sentence for possessing enormous amounts of child porn. Daniel Tachi's attorney had previously argued that the case should be dismissed because all the evidence stemmed from his Capitol sledge case. A man pardoned by President Trump for his actions on January 6 has been sentenced for possessing more than 100,000 images of CSAM. And videos discovered in connection with his Capitol riot case. Daniel Tachi was sentenced to 4 years in prison by U.S. District Judge Mark Mastriani of the District of Massachusetts after he pled guilty to possession of child porn, according to a Justice Department news release Monday that made no mention of the January 6th link. Tachi had been set to go to trial in the J6 case earlier last year, but it was dismissed after Trump granted mass clemency to roughly 1,500 defendants tied to the attack on the Capitol. Federal prosecutors wrote in a sentencing memo in the child pornography case that, in addition to the child sex abuse materials on Tachi's laptop, it contains extremely disturbing images of violent acts, such as a cat being unalived by being put in a blender, a male shooting a female in the head, a dog being beaten to death, and severed heads and limbs, as well as images and videos of bestiality. That guy was pardoned by the President of the United States. That guy. Yes. Sorry for the non-trigger warnings there. That guy. And you all want to bitch and moan about the President of Joe Biden pardoning his son? For what? And the list is long. The list is long. Some of the same people that he pardoned that mass clemency also went out there and committed crimes against children after they were pardoned. But again, nothing to see here, right? No, instead, what our president wants to do is just offer pardons, blanket pardons to everyone who's come within 200 feet of the White House. That's fine. Nothing to see here. Good morning. How are you?
Oh, I'm just doing some house calls. I'm just checking in on a few of my favorite people.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. So, this is my light, and I'm a physician.
I was gonna say, I was like, was that a coincidence? Probably not. I needed a laugh. Thank you. I needed a laugh.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm a doctor because this is how my physician dresses. So,
yes, mine too.
And they heal me with light all the time. So I was just here to make sure that you were doing okay and you didn't need a physician.
Well, Mishi, if we go back to the first administration, don't forget there was a claim that the president made about shining ultraviolet light inside the body to help cure C-19.
Yeah,
so
I have
maybe
this.
There you go. I feel so much better. My back feels better.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. My indigestion is gone. I've been having headaches lately. It's all gone. You are powerful. That robe looks fantastic on you.
Well, this is how a doctor dresses in 2026. So
totally.
So I just wanted to, check in on a few people, and if you needed anything, any scripts, anything like that, I'm here for you.
I appreciate you very much. What else is going on?
Oh, it's interesting. I was watching this. I don't know if you know, I'm not going to say. I don't like to talk about other people. But there's a MAGA creator. And he's like, I just don't care. I don't give a F. And I'm like, we know you don't. You don't give an F about the sexual abuse. You don't give an F about the disability. You don't give. I can say that word on here, right? You don't give a fuck about any of it. So yes, do we think that him committing blasphemy is going to be the final blow? It is for a lot of them, actually.
It is for a lot of them. Yeah,
it is for a lot of them. But the sycophants are still going to sycophant.
When you lose Riley Gaines, that's a big deal.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was funny when Trump was asked about Riley, and I think he's so narcissistic that he doesn't even realize who Riley Gaines is. It's just, if someone presents a question where someone's critical, he'll be like, I never liked them. I don't like them. So I think that just shows how out of touch. I think it just shows how out of touch he is with Christianity. The fact that he would even post this, that he would look at this and post this, just shows how not Christian he is and how out of touch he is with his base.
Completely. Not that he ever was, but he was able to sell it.
Correct. He used them. Like he uses everybody until he has no need for you. And correct. That's the people in his administration. That's Noam. I mean, he'll throw Vance. He's definitely throwing Vance to Hungary when he knows that Victor was probably going to lose. He's the one negotiating this deal. I think he's definitely setting Vance up for some failures.
Oh, I completely agree. Yeah, because one thing the president wants to decide who's going to be his successor, right? He doesn't want the people to determine that. He's the one that's going to decide. Yeah. And who knows? Is it a loyalty test? He always seems to be leaning towards Marco Rubio in these conversations, but he sends JD out as a sacrificial lamb, and what does JD do? He just,
I think what we're seeing is JD Vance is not capable, and I hope the Republicans see that as a successor. He's just not capable or a negotiator at all.
Agreed. So, anyway. Thank you for jumping in.
You're welcome. I just wanted to lighten things up.
Blessed. Yeah. Literally, but I appreciate your friend. Have a good day. Be safe out there.
Okay, you too. All right. Bye.
All right. Bye. She's right. It's just this loyalty in the Trump administration is a one-way street, as we know. He will take anything he wants from you, with any disregard. And as soon as you're done, as soon as he doesn't need you anymore, he will just push you to the side, because he literally thinks he is invincible. He just literally thinks that he can do no wrong in the minds of his voters. He thinks that they'll always be there. Don't forget, he continues to use the same rhetoric. He's still talking about men and women's sports. He's still talking about the auto pen. He's still talking about they're emptying their insane asylums. It's the same fucking script. He's got nothing else. And the fact that he's now an old, mind-melted fucking fool, malignant narcissist, sociopath. Yeah, all those things track. Artsy, it looks like you've voted timed out, friend. You can request again if you want to. Drew, good morning, friend. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Steve. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm okay.
As good as anybody can be these days, right?
Yeah.
Hey, I can say this with some confidence as someone with a Jewish mother. Jesus was not a doctor, but his mother was very disappointed that he wasn't.
Thank you for that. That was great.
You're welcome. But I'll talk to you later.
All right, man. Have a good day. Be safe out there. Try the veal. Tip your waiters and bartenders. Yeah. No notes. So I want to shift gears a little bit. I may not make it till suddenly got a raging headache, but may not make it till noon. But we'll stick. I wanted to share this little story. Like I mentioned earlier, how actions have consequences. And you guys know me. It always comes around to voter activism, and are we going to be able to flip? Are we going to be able to get enough people to the polls to vote? And I want to remind folks again. I mentioned 574 votes that Al Gore lost by in Florida. 574 votes, right? So, and then that got me thinking about what would that look like if it was Jimmy Carter? What if Jimmy Carter had won the election? To be reelected against, Ronald Reagan in 1970 and 1980. So this is what America could have looked like. So I prompted, like I said, I don't use AI very often, but I prompted on occasion, and I kind of like when you prompt it and you ask it questions, you get an interesting response. So this is just, based on what, how I've sort of trained, Claude to kind of work. So I just asked a simple question. Tell me what America would be like today if Jimmy Carter had been reelected. Instead of the sharp conservative shift in the 1980s, the Reagan Revolution, the U.S. likely would have followed a more gradual, technocratic, and internationally cooperative path with less ideological swing. What actually happened under Reagan from an economy and from an inequality perspective? Large tax cuts, especially for high earners, deregulation, rise in income equality, and then strong growth, but uneven distribution. If Carter had won, likely a more modest tax policy with less aggressive cuts for the wealthy, continued inflation fighting with tight monetary policy, Paul Volcker, whom Carter appointed, for example, and then likely slower but more evenly distributed growth. Results today, probably less wealth inequality, a smaller gap between CEOs and workers, and possibly a slightly weaker corporate sector, but stronger middle-class stability. Anybody opposed to that? Again, this is theoretical. We know what happened under Reagan. The counter to Reagan would be things that we just discussed here. Again, less or a more narrow wealth gap, especially between CEOs and workers, and then the possibility of a slightly weaker corporate sector, but stronger middle-class stability. Okay. Energy and climate. Carter was decades ahead in energy. Jimmy Carter had solar panels on the roof of the fucking White House in 1978. Okay? And then they were ripped down. I shit you not. It was a big deal. I remember that. It's like he literally was up there with his people. Like, what the fuck are those things? Are they mirrors on the roof of the White House? Meanwhile, our president's building a ballroom. He created the Department of Energy, pushed for conservation, solar, and reduced oil dependence, and then installed solar panels on the roof of the White House. If reelected, he would have continued major investments in renewable energy, earlier pushed towards energy independence without fossil fuel expansion, and then a stronger conservation culture. Today, if he were reelected, the U.S. might be 10 to 20 years ahead of clean energy. We would have been leading the world. Less reliance on oil imports, hello, Strait of Hormuz, and potentially a global leader in solar, wind, much earlier than China or Europe. Anybody have any opposition to that? Okay. Foreign policy in the Cold War. Carter emphasized human rights, diplomacy, multilateralism. Key achievements, the Camp David Accords and the Panama Canal treaties. If reelected, likely less aggressive Cold War posture, possibly earlier easing of tensions with the Soviet Union, and then continued focus on human rights pressure globally. Result today, the Cold War might have ended more gradually, not via the sharp escalation and later thaw under Reagan. U.S. global image, more diplomatic, less interventionist. Anybody have an issue with that? Okay. Military and defense. Under Reagan, massive military buildup, and then the Strategic Defense Initiative. Everybody remember the nickname of that? Of course you do. The Mapo crowd will know. Star Wars. Under a second Carter term, there would have been more restrained defense spending and then continued emphasis on arms control. The result today, smaller long-term military footprint, possibly fewer Cold War proxy escalations, but critics would argue risk of appearing weaker to adversaries. Okay, maybe. Hard to know. Anybody have an issue with that? You know, reduced funding to the Department of Defense? More focus on diplomacy? Politics and culture. Reagan helped usher in modern conservatism, the rise of the religious right, and a more ideological, polarized political era. With Carter, politics likely remain on more centrist and policy-driven, slower rise of partisan polarization. Evangelical politics might not become as dominant as quickly. We could end the show right there. And then result today, possibly less polarization, fewer culture war flashpoints dominating politics. Anybody have an issue with that? Okay. Social programs and in the government's role. Carter wasn't a big government liberal in the traditional sense. He was fiscally cautious, but he supported and targeted social programs. He believed in government as a problem solver with limits, as do I. Result today, safety nets likely stronger, but not dramatically expanded. Government seen as a more managerial than ideological. The trade-offs. A Carter reelection wouldn't be purely better or worse, just different. Potential upsides, lower inequality, earlier climate action, less political polarization, more diplomatic global leadership. Potential downsides, slower economic growth in the 80s, less decisive end to the Cold War, continued public frustration if inflation and unemployment lingered, and then no Reagan boom psychologically that boosted business confidence. Bottom line, if Jimmy Carter had been reelected, America today would likely feel less unequal, more energy independent and climate forward, less ideologically polarized, but also possibly less economically dynamic and less assertive globally. I mean, it's like, these are the things that when we did that live a few days ago, last week I think it was, like why do we settle, right? This is an example. These things are possible in our system. There just needs to be a willingness for people to get involved, to participate. That can happen. 574 people in Florida gave us George W. Bush. 574. Keep that in mind. Trisha, are you there? I guess not. Okay, and I've got one more little bit of sound that I can play for you from... Did I cover this already? Oh, I wanted to play, two things. We'll do two things. We spoke about comedians earlier, so this is Seth Meyers. He's talking about Trump and his religiosity.
For Donald Trump, and they voted for him for the reason that he would pick conservative judges, he would pass legislation that was kind to them, and they are certainly getting what they voted for. And I am not to deny anyone voting for what they want. The thing that frustrates me is when conservative Christians tell us that Donald Trump is a religious man. Donald Trump is not in any way, shape, or form a religious man. Here's the dead giveaway. Donald Trump does not go to church, which makes sense because he would hate church. Can you imagine Donald Trump sitting for an hour in a room where someone talks about the glory of someone who is not Donald Trump? Is this whole hour about Jesus? Do you know he didn't own a single hotel? True story, night he was born, couldn't get a hotel reservation. And the Bible warns against this exact thing. In the Bible, it says, beware of a wolf in sheep's clothing. Donald Trump isn't even trying that hard. He is not a wolf in sheep's clothing. He's a wolf in a shitty wool sweater. Just walking into a flock being like, bah, I'm a sheep. When are you guys going to bed? Bah, I'm also a sheep. I'm not going to eat you because I'm a sheep. Bah.
Yeah. Then I think we'll wrap with a little bit of just something from Candace Owens that I think is interesting. And this has to do, it'll kind of take us where we started today with the blasphemy and the heresy perpetrated by our president, and she calls it out. Candace is a little delusional. We certainly know that. But she's been right about a few things lately. So here's Candace.
I do not say this to be extra. I do not say this to be performative. He is truly under demonic influence. You see that in the prayers. And, I have to say respectfully, it was definitely something which I am hopeful, and please forgive me if I'm out of line here, but I'm hopeful that more cardinals, more princes of the church will speak out against the role that some of our bishops have had in this. I think some of them have gone too political. Bishop Barron standing beside Paula White during that prayer, and his excuse is, well, I was there. Well, then you should make a statement after and say, this is wrong. This is wrong. I didn't mean to be. I didn't know what she was going to say when she prayed. But what she said was wrong, and it was blasphemous. And no, Trump, this is Easter, and Trump has nothing to do. He is nothing like Jesus Christ. In fact, Trump is not even a Christian. And so there is a role here that I think the Catholic Church can step in a really big way. I think there are too many TV bishops, too many TV pastors, too many people that have turned what it means to be a Christian into reality TV. Frankly, you can wear the clerical robes and be presenting yourself as something totally different. There needs to be and there has been thus far a very severe reaction, just all across the faith. Everybody, every Catholic bishop, every Catholic cardinal, but Catholics in general, you can't support Trump. You cannot support Trump in this moment.
Really no notes. There's two more things that I want to do. Let me do this real quick. I'll play our promo further, do something tour again. It seems to be, people seem to like it. So here you go, and I'll be right back.
Being honest. A lot of people in this country are tired. Not just busy tired. I mean soul tired. Tired of working hard and still feeling like they're falling behind. Tired of watching the news and feeling powerless. Tired of hearing promises every election season and then watching nothing change. And if you've ever felt like your vote doesn't matter, like your voice doesn't count, I want you to know something. You're not alone, and you're not wrong for feeling that way. Because when you feel ignored long enough, you stop believing anyone is listening. And when you stop believing anyone is listening, you stop showing up. But here's what I've learned in my life. The moment that good people stop showing up is the moment the wrong people take over the room. That's why I'm launching something called the Do Something Tour. Not because I think I have the answers, not because I'm here to tell anyone what to think, but because I believe we're losing something precious in this country, and that's our faith in each other. I'm going to travel the country to sit down with people who feel forgotten, people who feel dismissed, people who feel like the system is built for someone else. And I'm going to listen. I want to hear what broke your trust. I want to hear what you've lived through. I want to hear what you wish the people in power actually understood about your life. Because the truth is, democracy is not a speech. It's not a slogan. It's not something that happens once every 4 years. Democracy is people. It's parents trying to keep their kids safe. It's workers trying to keep food on the table. It's communities trying to stay whole. It's people who don't want to be a headline, they just want to be okay. And I know this, if we want change, we can't just hope for it. We have to participate in it. I'm not asking you to be perfect. I'm not asking you to know every issue. I'm not asking you to trust politicians. I'm asking you to trust your own worth. To remember that your voice matters, even if it's been ignored. To remember that your vote matters, even if it hasn't felt like it has. And to remember that your presence matters, because this country belongs to you, too. So this is my invitation. Come back in, not because the system deserves you, but because your community does. Your kids do. Your future does. This is the Do Something Tour. And if you've ever felt powerless, I want you to hear me clearly. You still have power. So, let's do something. Together. Thank you all very, very much. You can find that on the Instagram, our Instagram page, which is, if you go to the link, it's in the link tree, it's in my bio, you can find it. We actually have, Jess, I forgot to put the QR code. We actually have a QR code too that we'll attach to our background, and if you just scan it, it will take you directly to the Instagram page, which would be fantastic. Let me thank a few people who've helped support us. Cookie, thank you so much. You're very kind. Appreciate you. Not reading that, but thank you. Julianne, thank you. Julianne's contribution put us at 9,700, so thank you for that. That's very, very kind of you. I appreciate you. Also to Drea, thank you very much, Drea. You're very kind. That's very sweet. Kimberly, thank you very much. You're very kind. Really appreciate you. That's awesome. You guys are great. Also, let me head on over here. Blush mode has been activated today. That's for sure. Thank you to Stacy. Thank you very much. You're very sweet. And also to Joseph. Thank you, Joseph, for your kindness and your support of the channel. Also to Wendy. Stacy, exactly. Thank you very much. And Kipper needs to be centered, apparently. We can make that happen. All right, let me do this one last thing here. I think this is kind of going to summarize a lot of the topic that we had today, right? Let me do this. I'll adjust it tomorrow. I can't do math right now. All right. As we've discussed in this space many, many times, the right's argument about how wanting or claiming that the United States is a Christian nation. And I'll wrap up today's show with what I'm going to read to you guys. This person did this really exceptional breakdown. Their name is BRC Remer. BRCREMER. Found them on Substack. And I'll just read it to you. The United States is not a Christian nation. On March 30th, during a press briefing, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said, our nation was a nation that was founded 250 years ago, founded 250 years ago almost on Judeo-Christian values. The often repeated claim that the United States was founded on Judeo-Christian values is a modern political framing, which is not a historically accurate description of our nation's founding. The Founding Fathers were not a unified religious bloc, nor were they attempting to establish a Christian nation, having just come from a Christian nation themselves, Great Britain, which was controlled by the Protestant Church of England at the time, and had a history of bloody wars and violent opposition between the various sects of Christianity. They were insistent on creating a new and different kind of nation. Many key figures, such as Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, George Washington, and Benjamin Franklin, were heavily influenced by Enlightenment philosophy, which emphasized reason, individual liberty, and skepticism of religious authority. Some identified as Christians in a cultural sense, but others held deist beliefs, rejecting core doctrines like the divinity of Jesus. For an example, look up the Thomas Jefferson Bible, which completely omits not only the Old Testament, but all the miracles, supernatural elements, and even the resurrection of Jesus from the New Testament. Also, a number of key founders, most notably Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin, and to a more debated extent, George Washington, were influenced by deist ideas. Deism isn't atheism, but it's also not Orthodox Christianity. It generally holds that a creator exists and that creator established natural laws, but does not intervene in the world through miracles or revelation in the traditional sense. That worldview matters a lot when you look at the founding language. I think we need a better background for this when we go through this exercise.
Where is it? Yeah, this tracks. That worldview matters a lot when you look at the founding language. Most importantly, the founding documents themselves are explicitly secular in structure and intent. The U.S. Constitution contains no reference to God or Christianity. Its only mention of religion is in Article 6, which prohibits religious tests for public office, a radical departure from European norms at the time. The First Amendment to the United States Constitution explicitly prevents the establishment of religion by Congress and protects the free exercise of all beliefs. This was not about promoting a religion, but about preventing government control over it and from it. In the Treaty of Tripoli, ratified unanimously by the Senate and signed by President John Adams, it explicitly states, quote, "The government of the United States of America is not in any sense founded on the Christian religion." Even in the Declaration of Independence, which has language like endowed by their creator, is also due to Enlightenment influence rather than explicitly Christian. John Locke argued that natural rights like life, liberty, and property come from a higher source than government and therefore cannot be taken away by rulers. I'm going to pause there just briefly because I'm going to play a little bit of sound from a person who's out on the street talking to far-right Christians about their belief set and whether or not the United States is a Christian nation. I think it's interesting. I'll play this right now because of what I just read to you. Let me see if I can find this. Hopefully it's not buried too far. Yeah, here you go. She talks about the Founding Fathers, and his response is scripted. Okay, here you go.
Said that the Constitution and America should be founded on Christian principles. You guys should know this. This is your thing, right?
Well, but there's no, so what you do with that is if you're actually really interested in that, which one? I'm a historian. I actually believe that it was a bit of a mix.
Yes.
Right? So obviously Thomas Jefferson, who wrote the Declaration of Independence.
Thomas Jefferson,
right?
Atheist.
Right. So
Deist.
no, not an atheist.
Yeah, he is.
No, he's a deist. Get your facts straight.
Okay,
It's
whatever.
okay.
He doesn't believe
All
in
right,
God.
so you guys are 1-to-1. All right. No. Oh, no, he did. So let me just finish. Thomas Jefferson believes we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, endowed by the Creator with certain inalienable rights, the right to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. So in that founding document, he realized that if we're going to recognize rights, they have to be self-evident and inalienable. They can't come to us from documents. They have to come to us from somewhere else.
No.
And
They don't come to us from God. They come to us.
Well, what did he say? I'm just talking about the document.
Okay.
What did he say?
He said that
They come from
each other because neither of us are God.
from our Creator, endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights. So this is just English language. We can start with that.
So that part, even he bought into the script that instead of thinking that it was endowed by our Creator, meaning that it was, Christ-like. No. It has to do with Enlightenment philosophy. Let me go back to reading this for you. Hang on one second. Even in the Declaration of Independence, which this gentleman was referring to, which, by the way, is not a governing document, MAGA, it's just a Dear John letter, which has language that, like endowed by their Creator, is also due to Enlightenment influence rather than explicitly Christian. John Locke argued that natural rights like life, liberty, and property come from a higher source than government and therefore cannot be taken away by rulers. In this framework, invoking a creator was a philosophical move and arguably a deist move, not a Christian one. It grounded human rights in something universal and permanent rather than in a king or a specific religious authority. This was crucial in justifying independence because rights come from God in a broad sense. Then no government can legitimately revoke them. The Declaration uses several different terms like nature's God, Creator, Supreme Judge, and Divine Providence, none of which are explicitly Christian. There is no mention of Jesus Christ, no reference to the Bible, and no appeal to specifically Christian doctrines. Much like the principles of Alcoholics Anonymous, this language in the Declaration of Independence was intentionally broad enough to include a range of beliefs, like Orthodox Christians, deists, and others who believed in some form of higher power without subscribing to traditional Christianity. This reflects the governing philosophy of the early republic. The phrase Judeo-Christian values itself would have been unfamiliar to the founders. It did not enter common American political discourse until the mid-20th century, largely as a way to promote unity during the Cold War. Projecting it backward onto the 18th century is historically inaccurate. The phrase actually originated in the 1930s and 40s. During this period, the U.S. was confronting two major forces, the rise of fascism in Europe and later, the ideological struggle of the Cold War. In both contexts, American leaders and thinkers sought a unifying moral identity that contrasted with their adversaries. As Nazi ideology spread in Europe, with its explicit anti-Semitism, American religious and political leaders began emphasizing common ground between Christians and Jews. The term Judeo-Christian was promoted to foster solidarity and to push back against the idea that Jews were outsiders to Western civilization. It was, in part, a moral and cultural response to the horrors of the Holocaust. After World War II, the U.S. positioned itself against the officially atheistic Soviet Union. Politicians and institutions emphasized religion as a defining feature of American life. So think about that that part right there. So the atheistic approach to, although it's not necessarily, but the Soviet Union, trying to create a separation, right? Create a separation between the forces of good and the forces of bad, I guess you can say. So they want to use religion as that tool, saying they are immoral because they don't believe what we believe. We are holier than thou, or we are supreme because of our belief set. This has been part of the dialogue. Again, the Judeo-Christian language, the Judeo-Christian moniker connected to it? I don't think so. After World War II, again, the politicians and institutions emphasized religion as a defining feature of American life. It was during this era that under God was added to the Pledge of Allegiance, 1954, and in God we trust became the national motto, 1956. Two things that many also believe originated at our founding, of course. They did not. The phrase Judeo-Christian values then gained traction as a way to describe a shared moral framework that distinguished the U.S. from communism without privileging one denomination over another. It created a broad, inclusive religious identity that could unify Protestants, Catholics, and Jews under a single cultural banner. The U.S. has had long-standing tensions between Protestant, Catholic, and Jewish communities. So Judeo-Christian functioned as a kind of compromise, one that smoothed over theological differences and presented a common ethical tradition, even if that tradition was selectively defined. It was less about theology and more about social cohesion in a time of division. By the late 20th century, the phrase began to take on a more explicitly political and partisan role. It was increasingly used to argue that certain moral or legal positions on family, law, or public life were rooted in this shared heritage. Over time, it became a rhetorical bridge that was broad enough to sound inclusive, but was often used in ways that aligned more closely with particular Christian interpretations. So the phrase Judeo-Christian values is not a founding era concept. It's a 20th century construct shaped by war, prejudice, and the need for national unity. It was originally meant to expand inclusion, especially for Jewish Americans, but it's often been repurposed in modern politics to suggest a singular religious foundation for the United States, as we so often hear it used today. None of this is to deny that religion, including Christianity, played a major role in American culture or in the personal lives of many early Americans. That's not disputed. But cultural influence is not the same as constitutional foundation. The United States was designed to be a pluralistic society where people of all faiths or no faith could participate equally under the law. So when political leaders claim the U.S. was founded as a Christian nation, they are not expressing an historic truth. They are advancing a vision of government that risks excluding those who do not share that identity. It reframes a secular constitutional system into a religious one, which runs counter to both the text of the founding documents and the intentions of many of their authors. This is why it is especially important for Christians of the United States to be informed and vocal about this issue, especially in our time. When Christian nationalism is on the rise, it does so in the name of Christianity, but often in ways that conflict with both democratic principles and the core teachings many Christians hold, such as humility, truthfulness, and care for others.
Some of the people in the highest positions of power in our country are platforming ideas and policies that directly erode the rights of women, neglect the poor, deprive the hungry, mistreat the immigrant, target the other, disregard our planet, and pray for God to kill their enemies, all while claiming to be Christian. If unchallenged, especially by the church, it allows a specific political ideology to define what Christianity means in the public square. Christians who value both their faith and their constitution are uniquely positioned to speak with credibility here. By insisting on historical accuracy and rejecting the misuse of our religion for political power, we can help preserve both religious freedoms and the integrity of our own tradition. Moreover, there are more than 200 distinct Christian traditions in the United States alone, all with our own unique theologies, interpretations of Scripture, and how we believe the gospel should be lived out. To have a single Christian sect, especially one that doesn't believe that Catholics, Methodists, and many other Christians aren't true Christians, as the most ardent Christian nationalists believe, threatens Christian religious liberties as well. In the very real sense, confronting the Christian nation myth is not an attack on Christianity. It is a defense of both the Constitution and the faith from being distorted for political ends. I really like that. It's probably the best breakdown I've ever heard on that topic. You know, just the fact that the Judeo-Christian term came about in the mid-20th century, and for some reason, people just still believe it. But that's on them. The last thing I want to play is on this particular topic, because you've got the moral divide between the defense of the I country and the assault on Iran. And this gentleman's name is, I can't even think of his name. I'll find it for you, but just listen to this absolute fucking hypocrisy.
Israel have nuclear weapons?
Yes, almost certainly. I mean, I don't think they haven't officially claimed it, but
why don't we know for a fact?
Because they don't want to say so, because there's American statutes.
Why do they get a pass? Why do they get a pass about that?
Well, because they're our ally and Iran's our enemy.
See,
it's so because we're the good guys.
Okay,
and Iran's the bad guys.
A very interesting admission. So our friends don't need to be transparent about their nuclear capability, but our enemies.
It's good to be America's friend.
But our enemies do.
Yes.
Wow.
That's exactly how it works.
Well, that's just
because we have the B-2 bomber and they don't.
Hypocrisy, isn't it?
No, it's only hypocrisy if you don't have a normative view of whether the United States is good and Iran is bad.
When you say America is,
that's the way the world
when you say America is benevolent, how does that sit with the President of the United States 2 days ago talking about the imminent destruction of an entire civilization?
Oh, you mean like death to America, death to Israel? Right? Like
no,
we've
I'm
dealt
talking
with
about
for 30
Donald Trump.
years.
Talking about
Trump
Donald
throws
Trump
one
saying it is,
post out and everybody
about
loses
Donald
their crap
Trump
in the middle of a negotiation and signs a ceasefire within 8 hours.
I'm talking about Donald Trump threatening to annihilate 90 million people in
Casey
his own words.
McFarland had it right yesterday.
In his own words on his post.
That.
Do you not care about that?
I just see it as negotiating bluster. Trump's been doing this stuff for 40 years.
Threaten genocide.
I mean, that's exactly what the Iranians have been doing to us. They had a clock in the middle of their downtown saying that they were going to destroy the entire country of Israel.
America should be amoral, if not as immoral as its enemies. So what you're saying?
We should be sufficiently ruthless to get our negotiated pieces that actually make sense, which we seem to have done here. Apparently, this focused the Iranians' mind and made them realize they should come to the table.
Are you aware that threatening to commit an act of genocide in itself could be presented as a war crime?
I think that would be frivolous.
It's the hypocrisy for me, man, right? It's really fucking mind-boggling that he would sit there with his full chest and say, oh, you're totally fine if you've got nukes as long as you're an ally of ours. We don't have to hold our allies accountable. We don't care what they do, but boy, oh boy, if it's somebody that we don't like, that doesn't believe what we believe, that doesn't share our values, then we got to know. Okay. We're going to wrap there today, friends. Thanks for joining, everybody. I appreciate you all for participating today. We'll be back tomorrow for What the Fuck Wednesday. Please buckle up for that. That's always fun. Let's go raid Olive today, friends. Tell her we said hello. We love you guys. Mods, you guys are the best. Chat, thank you, everybody, for showing up today. Appreciate you all very, very much. Remember, friends, there's always